Chapter 3699. Lord Yun had thought that Bei Xian might come in person. He thought that if the king of the north really came, he would choose to retreat if there were too many of them. If there were too few of them, he would fight to the death, even if it was the king of the north. He had the king of the east behind him. The king of the north was not much of a threat to him. He did not expect the king of the northern region and old demon Kuan to come together. Lord Yun was at his wit's end. Old demon Kuan was too strong. Even the king of the eastern region was defeated by him. Lord Yun's level was nothing compared to him. If Kuan wanted to kill him, he could do it with a wave of his hand. The reason why the king of the northern region and Kuan Mo had come to this remote place was self-evident. They must have come for Lu Li and the master divine artifact. Many thoughts flashed across Lord Yun's mind. In the end, he went up with the three of them. Greetings, Kuan King, Shell King. Lord Yun bowed first, and the other three followed suit. Kuan glanced at them, but said nothing. The king of the north said with a smile, Yun, you don't have to be so polite. Please rise. Lord Yun glanced at Kuan and asked after some hesitation. Kuan King and Shell King are here for... Kuan still didn't say anything. Shell King said with a smile, nothing much. I heard that there is an ice harem here. Kuan and I are here to check it out. Why? Can't we go in? Lord Yun put on a fake smile and said, Shell King, you must be joking. This is not my home. Anyone can go in. Then you can leave. Shell King waved his hand, showing no respect to Lord Yun. He was about to fly in with Kuan. Lord Yun thought about it and said again, Kuan King, Shell King, there's a young man here that the king of the north likes. His name is Lu Li. If the two of you meet him, I hope that the two of you will be magnanimous. Kuan glanced at them and suddenly said, Get out. Lord Yun was famous in the mystic region. He was the chief steward of the eastern region. All the powerful warriors would show him some respect. But old demon Kuan didn't give them any face and asked Lord Yun to get out. The three full perfection stage experts were infuriated. Lord Yun had a high prestige in their hearts. Old devil Kuan could slap their faces, but not Lord Yun. Lord Yun quickly glanced at them, and the three full perfection realm experts dared not say a word. Lord Yun forced a smile, but he did not dare to say another word. He brought the three full perfection realm experts and flew away. He knew this old lunatic's temper very well. If he dared to say another word, the four of them would most likely die here today. This wasn't a joke. Back then, the king of the eastern region didn't provoke Kuan Mo. He only used his divine will to probe, and Crazy Ol made a move, almost killing the king of the eastern region. This old madman was also famous for his violent temper in the immortal territory. More paragons had died in his hands than the king of the eastern region. Furthermore, it was all because of some trifling matters that this person wanted to kill when he was in a bad mood. Whoosh, the king of the north and Crazy Ol flew into the cave. Lord Yun brought the three complete deities and stopped after flying for 10,000 miles. One of the complete deities of the east asked, Lord Yun, are we just going to leave it like this? Manage? Lord Yun sneered and said, Why should I care? Just the four of us? Kuan Mo can kill us in 10 breaths. Even the king of realm can't do anything, let alone us. The king of realm can't stop him. The three complete deities didn't know about this. To them, the king of the eastern region was invincible. He could even kill the king of the origin region. Kuan Mo was rumored to be strong, but he shouldn't be a match for the king of the eastern region. We can't do anything about this. Lord Yun sighed and said, I bought Lu Li some time just now. I can only hope that Lu Li found out with the master map and found a way to hide. Otherwise, not even the king of realm can protect him. Lu Li was in luck. Since he had nothing to do recently, he was using the master map to check on the situation in the chaotic star region. He turned around and glanced outside the ice river valley, only to find that Lord Yun and the others were gone. Lu Li looked around and found Lord Yun and the others thousands of miles away. Lu Li. Lord Yun sensed Lu Li's psychic power and shouted at once, The king of the Kuan region and the king of the north have gone in. We can't stop them, neither can the king of realm. You have to find a way to escape. Lu Li was taken aback. He wanted to ask more, but he came to his senses. He had no time to ask. He used psychic power to check the cave and saw the two mysterious, powerful warriors standing near the pond. When he sensed the horrifying chi and energy of the two powerful warriors, he retracted his psychic power at once. Blood Fairy, Luli shouted at once. Don't forget about the divine patterns. Go and fix them now. Seal off the passageway to my room. Now, powerful warriors are coming in. Blood Fairy was determined to carry out Luli's orders. She stepped back at once and began to fix the divine patterns leading to the study. There were divine patterns in this passageway, but they were cracked by Blood Fairy. Now, Blood Fairy just needed to fix the divine patterns, and the passageway would be sealed off again. Boom! The divine patterns at the entrance were blasted open. Two people dashed out and spread out their psychic power. The king of the northern region and Kuan had come in. The divine patterns were not set up here. Therefore, they were enveloped by the cold air. This is interesting. Kuan Mo's body was frozen, but his body lit up with a red light. The ice on his body exploded, and a fiery red light barrier appeared around his body, isolating him from the cold air. The king of the north's body was also covered in ice. He shook his body and shattered the ice. A lamp appeared in his hand. The lamp lit up with a yellow light and enveloped him in a light shield. Clearly, even though Bei Xian had a relic to protect himself, he was not as strong as Kuan Mo. Kuan Mo's shield was strong. The cold air could penetrate, but only a small amount. It did not affect Kuan Mo. On the other hand, Bei Xian was still covered in ice. His beard, eyebrows, and hair had turned white. Bei Xian turned to Jin Yin and the others. After a closer look, he did not pay too much attention. Jin Yin and the others' bodies were all destroyed, but their souls were still intact. He could just get them out after he got out of here. Bei Xian used psychic power to check the ice harem. He frowned. There were too many divine patterns in the ice harem. Even the paths inside were marked with divine patterns. Bei Xian did sense Li's presence. After all, the ice harem was not large. Bei Xian sensed someone inside, but not strong. Needless to say, it must be Li. These divine patterns, the king of the northern region observed for a while and asked with a frown, Lord Kuan, these are the divine patterns of the Ice Queen. I don't think they are hard to crack. Crazy Old grinned and said with pride, that is for you. I have cracked the divine patterns of the Almighty before. It is just a matter of time. The Eye of Clairvoyance is in that punk's hand. I will help you take him down. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3700. Luli heard Kuan Mo's words as well. Luli's heart was weighed down. He had heard that the master of Kuan region was powerful. Back then, Little White said that Luli could go anywhere he wanted. The master of the eastern region must be afraid of the master of Kuan region. Blood Fairy, can you change more patterns so that they can't come in? Luli told Blood Fairy. Blood Fairy understood what Luli meant. He was trying everything possible to prevent the two powerful warriors from coming in. Blood Fairy knew very well that when the two powerful warriors came in, it would be the end of Luli as well as Blood Fairy. Master, Blood Fairy said, I think you should go to the statue. After all, the patterns here are not strong. I will change some at the statue. The patterns are strong. It will be hard to crack them. Okay, Luli nodded. The statue was the core of the palace. Blood Fairy took a long time to find a way. If she changed the patterns, then the path would be blocked. It would be difficult for Blood Fairy to come in. Luli moved toward the main hall with Blood Fairy. Same as before, he had to crawl in many places. That punk is moving. He is moving toward the main hall. Kuan Mo sensed it, but did not pay much attention. Places where Luli could move must be places where the patterns were weak and had been cracked. If Luli could move, so could Kuan Mo. He moved forward slowly and avoided all the places with patterns. Bei Xian followed him. Standing in front of the main hall, Kuan Mo closed his eyes. A surge of energy surged out from his feet. He began to check the patterns nearby to find a way to crack them. Even though Bei Xian felt uncomfortable standing here, he could not leave. He could manage. He could only study the patterns to see if he could find a way to crack them. As for Jin Yin and Gang Yu, Bei Xian did not worry. Those warriors had abandoned their bodies. Their souls would not perish so soon. They could survive for dozens of years. He could get them out when they got out. Lord Yun and the others retreated for hundreds of thousands of miles. Lord Yun asked a warrior to build a messaging altar. After half a day, the altar was ready. Lord Yun sent a message to the master of the eastern region, informing him of the situation. After an hour, the king of the eastern region replied with only 2 simple words, "Come back." The master of the eastern region's message was clear. He did not care about Lu Li and told them to leave. Lord Yun sighed. He knew that the master of the eastern region was someone who was warm on the inside. Apparently, the master of the eastern region did not think highly of Lu Li. But as a matter of fact, he had always thought highly of Little White, his sworn brother, especially after he demonstrated so many strange abilities. If the king of the eastern region could give such an order, it meant that he had no other choice. If he had a way, he wouldn't have given up on Lu Li. Kun Mo was too powerful. The king of the eastern region would not go against Kun Mo for Lu Li. Once Kun Mo died, it would be the end of the eastern region. Rui Ji, you stay here and observe the situation. Don't make any movements and just stay here to observe the situation. You must not meet the Kun King or the Shell King. After Lord Yun said a few words, he left with the other 2 consummate-level deities. He did not hesitate at all. Very quickly, he left the ancient Rhino realm and disappeared into the void. Li was not. Why as he had he? Li Smo as Li Yin. He was relieved to see that Kun Mo had not started to crack the formation. Blood Fairy moved quickly to alter the runes. Kun Mo sensed Blood Fairy, but did not pay much attention. He did not take any action before he had a clear idea of the situation. This was a rune built by an almighty god. One careless move could cost one's life. This was not a place to joke. Blood Fairy spent 3 days modifying many of the divine glyphs. She had already sealed off the entrance. Regular warriors would be killed by the runes if they dared to break in. Blood Fairy did not stop. She continued to alter the runes. Kun Mo did not move. He had been observing. Bei Xian could not find anything after a long time. It was difficult to crack. If it were Bei Xian, it would take him hundreds of years, and he might not be able to crack it completely. Therefore, Bei Xian gave up. He did not have the time to waste here. He could only hope that Kun Mo could crack the formation as soon as possible. Soon, half a month had passed. Blood Fairy had altered a few dozen of the glyph runes, and it would be very difficult to enter the tunnel. Blood Fairy reported the information to Lu Li, saying that she had done her best. Lu Li kept his eyes on Kun Mo's life, dependent on whether Kun Mo could crack the formation. Kun Mo started to move. However, he didn't attempt to break the formation. Instead, he blasted out streams of energy that wriggled like little snakes, entering the formation and following the runic inscriptions. Kun Mo should still be probing the runic inscriptions in preparation to break the formation. Blood Fairy, is there another way out? Lu Li could tell from Kun Mo's formation that he was confident that he could solve the formation. Lu Li's heart was pounding. He asked, is there any other safe place to hide? I don't think the runes here can stop that freak. Yes, Blood Fairy said with certainty. There are 2 side halls in here. But given my abilities, I cannot solve the runes in the side halls. It will take me at least 100 years. Master, you have to stay here. Master, I will go and set up some runes to see if I can stop him from coming in. Also, I will set up some guiding runes to confuse him. Go. Lu Li waved his hand. He had nowhere else to run. If the runes here could not stop Kun Mo, then there was nothing he could do. Blood Fairy went to set up the runes. Kun Mo had been checking as well. The Ice Queen's palace was eerily quiet. The atmosphere was suffocating. Half a month, 1 month, 1.5 months. Bei Xian was getting bored. He was about to sit down to cultivate when Kun Mo suddenly opened his eyes. Bei Xian was cheered up. Lord Kun, have you found anything? Kun Mo didn't say anything and seemed to be in deep thought. After a full hour, he said, it's about time. Wait outside. I will go and break the array. With that said, Kun Mo walked forward and entered the tunnel that Lu Li used. He seemed to have a good grasp of the situation. Without hesitation, he went in. He walked over to the place where Blood Fairy was modifying the divine inscription and shot out beams of fiery red light. These beams of light slithered through the divine inscription like tiny snakes. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, the divine inscription disappeared. A master of runes. Blood Fairy's voice rang in Lu Li's mind. Master, we are in big trouble. This is a real master of runes. I don't think the runes here can stop him. My runes won't work either. He will be able to crack them all in a month or two at most. Lu Li had sensed a long time ago. His heart sank to the bottom. This time he was doomed. This master of the Kuan realm was too strong. Lu Li felt like an ant facing a dragon. He could not fight back or run. He could only wait for death. Chapter 3701. There was no way to fight. Old Demon Kuan could crush Lu Li as easily as crushing an ant. Lu Li's most powerful means was the cold air, but Old Demon Kuan was not afraid of it at all. They had been standing here for a long time. Bei Xian would freeze from time to time, but Old Demon Kuan was never frozen. Even if he wanted to escape, there was no way out. He had already sealed his own path. His only path of retreat was the Dharma realm. The problem was that Old Demon Kuan was so abnormal. Would he be able to track the Dharma realm? What if he was shaken out? The exit was blocked by Kuan Mo and Bei Xian. Even if he managed to escape from the Ice River Valley, he wouldn't be able to escape the pursuit of two great perfection deities. There's no other way. Lu Li thought about it. If Old Demon Kuan was here, then he could only enter the Dharma realm. If he was shaken out, then he could only admit defeat. He left Blood Fairy to explore on her own while he kept an eye on Old Demon Kuan. Old Devil Kuan advanced step by step, and very soon he arrived at the location where the divine inscription was altered. He also shot out a red glow that resembled little snakes, and this time around, he spent an hour before the divine inscription dissipated. He then continued to advance. Elder Kuan is amazing. Bei Xian praised sincerely when he saw this scene from the outside. The old madman must have a lot of tricks up his sleeves to have such a great reputation. He also felt lucky. If it weren't for the fact that the old madman was dying, he wouldn't have been able to persuade the old madman no matter what he offered. The Kuan family had a few great perfection deities, but none of them were particularly strong. The current Kuan family patriarch, Kuan Chang, was considered relatively strong. Bei Xian felt that he was much weaker than him, perhaps on par with Lord Yin. This kind of battle prowess could be considered decent in the immortal region, but it was still a bit difficult to become a realm king. Moreover, Kuan Mo had offended many experts over the years. It was normal for Kuan Mo to be worried that if he died, the Kuan clan would be cleansed. Now that Bei Xian had sworn an over-god blood oath, the Kuan family had 3 chances to ask Bei Xian for help. Once the Kuan family faced a great disaster and came to ask Bei Xian for help, Bei Xian would have to do his best to help. The king of the northern region, the Bei family, and the Kuan family, these 2 super clans had a high chance of helping the Kuan family survive this calamity. The Celestial Eye was a very mystical master artifact. Unfortunately, it wasn't an offensive master artifact, nor was it a defensive master artifact. Aside from monitoring the entire major world, it had no other use. If Kuan Mo still had a long lifespan, he might try to snatch it from him, but he was going to die soon, so what was the point of holding on to a master divine weapon? Leaving this sovereign artifact behind would actually bring endless calamity to the Kuan clan. Bei Xian was glad that he had gone to find Kuan Mo. To him, it didn't matter if he attacked 3 times. If he obtained this master artifact, the Bei family's strength would increase significantly. He could also use this sovereign artifact to search for even more sovereign relics and obtain even more benefits. His lifespan was still very long, and he was not willing to be below others. He also had the dream of becoming a sovereign. Mo, for being. Bai, for him. God, Devil Xian is he. Li, he was to him. 2. Xian to 2 for him. As Demon Li still. 2. She had done her best. That was all she could do. Blood Fairy snuck into the 2 side chambers to see if she could solve one, so that Lu Li could go in. Lu Li sat in front of the statue. He didn't even need to use the map. He could use the trace of Great Tao to sense it. Demon Kuan was in the main hall as well. He was approaching Luli bit by bit. Luli sat in front of the statue with his legs crossed. He didn't even need the map anymore. He could sense it by using the trace of Tao. Kuan-Mo was in the main hall as well. He was approaching Luli bit by bit. 3 days, 5 days, 8 days. Demon Kuan was only 1,000 feet away from Luli. More than half of the divine patterns were solved. There were only 7 or 8 left. Blood Fairy's divine patterns were meaningless. They could not affect Demon Kuan or mislead him. Demon Kuan was the most accomplished Blood Fairy had ever seen in terms of divine patterns. He was even better than her. If Blood Fairy could solve the divine patterns, Demon Kuan could as well. Luli had given up. When Demon Kuan solved another 3 or 4 divine patterns, he would enter the Dharma realm. Life and death were predestined. Instead of paying attention to Demon Kuan, Luli began to observe Blood Fairy to see what she was doing. Blood Fairy had gone into a side chamber. Luli could not see her. After a while, he turned his attention to the statue of Ice Queen behind him. He once sensed a strange world from the statue. In that world of ice, he sensed the law of ice and snow. Unfortunately, he had been studying the law for a long time, but he had not mastered it. Even if he did, he didn't think it would be of much use. It would not enhance his abilities much. It is a pity that I cannot get close to the statue. Luli opened his eyes and looked at the statue. The divine patterns in the statue were horrifying. Blood Fairy said that the divine patterns here were the most horrifying. If Luli dared to get close, he would be smashed into pieces. If he could get behind the statue, Luli believed that not even Demon Kuan could do anything to him. Right? Luli remembered the Almighty Artifact. The Almighty Artifact had 2 parts, a map and a crystal ball. The map could only be used if the crystal ball shone on the map. At that moment, Luli suddenly thought of a possibility. If the crystal ball shone on the statue, would something strange happen? They were all items of the Ice Empress. At the very least, there shouldn't be any major problems, right? Luli acted at once. He took out the crystal ball and poured in cold energy. The crystal ball glowed and a beam of light rushed out. Luli adjusted the angle and aimed at the abdomen of the statue. He dared not to do anything else. Otherwise, it would be blasphemy to Ice Queen. The beam of light was aimed at the abdomen. At that moment, the statue suddenly glowed. A strange energy spread out from the statue and enveloped the entire Ice Queen Palace. Kuan-Mo, who was working on the formation, and Bei Xian, who was sitting with his legs crossed, suddenly opened their eyes. They were like 2 startled hedgehogs. This energy is that of an almighty immortal? Bei Xian suddenly stood up and murmured in shock. He was shocked at this moment. Could it be that the Ice Empress was still alive? Or was the remnant of Ice Queen's soul still there? If that was really the case, then Kuan-Mo would die without a burial ground. Kuan-Mo was frightened as well. He was strong, but when faced with an almighty immortal, he was no different than an ant. Luli had received the legacy of Ice Queen. As long as there was a remnant of Ice Queen's soul left, then they would die a miserable death. The statue was glowing brighter, and the energy was getting stronger as well. It was as if a huge creature was slowly waking up. Retreat. Kuan-Mo could not afford to be careless. He retreated at once. When he was next to Bei Xian, he shouted, "Let's get out of here first." Whoosh! Kuan-Mo dashed out of the entrance. Bei Xian didn't dare to stay any longer. He followed Kuan-Mo. The energy was too horrifying. It was a fear that came from the depth of their souls, making them tremble. Luli himself was frightened as well. Both his body and soul were trembling. He realized he had gone too far this time. The energy of the statue was getting more and more horrifying. He might be crushed to death by the energy. Chapter 3702. Luli wanted to stop the crystal ball from glowing, but he felt it was out of his control. The crystal ball was actively absorbing the cold air around, and then the beam of light was injected into the statue. The statue was getting brighter and brighter, and the energy was getting more and more horrifying. It was as if the statue was coming to life. Luli could not move at all. He could not even stand straight, as if he was going to collapse to the ground. He wanted to go into the realm of magic as well, but there was something in his mind that told him to wait. Wait for what? Wait for death? Luli didn't know. He thought he was lucky. After all, he could control the almighty artifact and absorb the cold air. He had indirectly received the legacy of the Ice Empress. The statue of the Ice Empress couldn't have killed him. The statue of the Ice Empress must have done something before she died. There must be a deeper meaning behind it. Of course, this was just Lu Li's speculation. He had no way of knowing the real situation. Lu Li waited quietly. He even stopped breathing. After the time for more than a dozen breaths, Lu Li felt like days had passed. The crystal ball in his hand suddenly stopped glowing. Finally, the glow from the statue was getting brighter and the energy was no longer growing. To Lu Li, the statue seemed to have come to life. Its eyes were staring at Lu Li as if they were alive. Lu Li felt weak. He forced himself to stand and stared at the statue. After the time for several breaths, the abdomen of the statue suddenly lit up. Then a swirl of cold air appeared, and there was a strong suction force in the swirl. Lu Li was shocked. He wanted to go into the realm of magic, but it was too late. His body seemed to have been frozen, and he could not move. He could only watch helplessly as he flew toward the abdomen of the statue and into the swirl. His body kept spinning until he was dizzy. He felt like he was in a tunnel of time and space. He kept spinning without knowing where he was going. Lu Li didn't know how long he had been spinning. He thought it had been at least a month or two, maybe longer. Towards the end, he lost consciousness. His mind was in a daze. Boom. Finally, he smashed into the ground and landed on a hard layer of ice. Lu Li closed his eyes and rested for a while. After the time for one incense stick to burn, he felt better. He opened his eyes to sense the outside world. Lu Li was stunned. He had entered the world he sensed from the statue, the world of ice and snow, the source of the cold air. The surroundings were filled with snow and wind, and everything was hazy. He couldn't sense too far away. Once again, Lu Li noticed something that surprised him. His Dharma realm was not absorbing the cold air, but his body was not frozen. He just felt the coldness seeping into his bones. He stood up and circulated his origin energy to resist the cold, but he discovered that his body was still cold. Not only was his body cold, but his soul was also cold. It was so cold that his body was a little numb, and his blood almost couldn't flow. What's going on? Lu Li didn't move. Instead, he began to think. He was rather puzzled. Why had the light of the sovereign artifact's crystal ball struck the statue and caused such a change? He was actually sucked into this strange world. Could he still get out? Is there an exit? Let's see if I can use a sovereign artifact first. Lu Li thought about it and took out the sovereign artifact. Luckily, he had the crystal ball with him all the time. If he lost the crystal ball, the sovereign artifact would be useless. He used the sovereign artifact. It glowed. Lu Li used psychic power to check the map. Well, this is good. The sovereign artifact could still be used. He could check the outside world easily. He was a bit relieved. At the very least, he could send a message to Lu Ling. The Lu family didn't have to worry about his life. If something happened to the Lu family, he could take command remotely. Where are the two realm lords? Lu Li used psychic power to check the situation outside the Ice River Valley. He found two realm lords near the cold pond in the underground cave. When he scanned the two with psychic power, he suddenly realized that he had done something stupid. He could sense that these two great perfection stage beings had been scared away by the aura emitted by the statue. If he used his divine will to scan them, wouldn't he be able to tell them that he was still alive and that the statue hadn't released any attacks? Wasn't that telling the two realm lords that they could come in? If Lu Li didn't check, the two realm lords might think that he was killed by the statue and the sovereign artifact might be destroyed. By then, the two realm lords might not pursue the matter. Now that he was exposed, the two realm lords would get to the bottom of this. Never mind. It's okay. Lu Li thought about it and realized that it was not as serious as he had imagined. He used the map to check the statue and was relieved to see that it had returned to its original state. Even if the two realm lords could come in, would they dare to go near the statue? They had no sovereign artifact and could not activate the statue. Naturally, they could not come in. If they were to act recklessly, they might be killed by the runes of the statue. Luli took a closer look at the statue and found that it was exactly the same as before. He checked again. Blood Fairy did not follow him in. She was in a side chamber, working on the runes. Blood Fairy could only send a message. Luli was in another world and could not contact her. That being said, Blood Fairy's senses were strong. If the two realm lords were to come closer, Blood Fairy would be able to tell. There were runes everywhere. If she could sneak into the runes, the two realm lords would not be able to do anything to her. The two realm lords were on the move. Since Luli could use the sovereign artifact, then the danger of the statue must have been resolved. How could Luli use the sovereign artifact before the danger was resolved? Before Kuinemo came out, he could tell that Luli was trapped as well. Kuinemo thought about it for a while. He decided to wait for half a day and then go back to check. If the energy of the sovereign was gone, then they would take action again. That was what Kuinemo was thinking. If there was a remnant soul of the Ice Empress, then they would not be able to escape. They would die on the spot. After a long time, Kuinemo said, "Wait here. When the situation is stable, I will crush the Jade Talisman, and you can come in." Kuinemo threw out a Jade Talisman and then dashed into the tunnel. He went in and sensed that the energy of the statue was gone. He was a bit relieved. He did not move around. He stayed where he was and sensed. Slowly, he went into the hall. After a moment, he could relax. He sensed that the statue had returned to its original state. This meant that there was no remnant soul of the sovereign artifact. It was just that Luli accidentally triggered some traps and triggered some of the traps set by the Ice Empress. If there was a remnant soul, he and Beixian would have died. What? Soon, Kuinemo came back to his senses. He was surprised to see that Luli was missing. He could not sense any signs of life in the hall. Though the hall was isolated by many runes, it was easy to sense signs of life. How could a powerful warrior like Kuinemo not sense it? Has he been teleported into a side chamber or a secret room and is about to receive the legacy of the Ice Empress? Kuinemo murmured. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes as he strode in. Now that he had made his move, he could not give up. He must kill Luli. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3703. Old Demon Kuin continued to work. After a while, Beixian came in as well. Beixian checked for a while and was surprised. Luli had disappeared. There was no trace of him. There were only two explanations. Either Luli had been killed, or Luli had entered a side hall or a dark hall. Beixian and Kuinemo had similar thoughts. They believed that Luli had triggered some mechanism and was taken to somewhere in the Ice Queen's palace. It was possible that Luli would receive the legacy of the Ice Queen. Beixian was both surprised and worried. If Luli really received the legacy of the Ice Queen, then he would be much more powerful. Previously, Luli was already invincible below the Absolute Realm. Would he be able to defeat the average Absolute Realm warriors after receiving the legacy of the Ice Queen? Beixian had sent Jin Yin and Gang Yu. This time, he was going to fight Luli to the death. Luli was a vengeful person. When Luli became more powerful, the Bei family would be the victim of Luli's revenge. I hope Lord Kuin can solve the runes and find him. Beixian had to pin his hopes on Kuinemo. If he couldn't kill Luli this time, it would bring endless troubles to the Bei family. Kuinemo could only help this time. If he couldn't do it this time, it would be difficult to get him to help in the future. Without Kuinemo, the master of the Eastern region would have nothing to worry about. By that time, even Beixian could die. Somehow, Beixian was panicking. He realized that if he couldn't capture Luli this time, there would be big trouble. If he could kill Luli, then there would be no more troubles. The master of the Eastern region wouldn't go to war over a dead man. On the other hand, if he couldn't kill Luli this time, the consequences would be dire. When Kuinemo left, both the master of the Eastern region and Luli might seek revenge. No, Beixian was determined. He must kill Luli this time. If Luli didn't die, the Bei family would be in trouble. Beixian was not strong enough yet. Once the Bei family was in trouble, his reputation would fall or he would be killed. The Bei family would be wiped out like the king of Origin region. Lord Kuin, Beixian thought about it and cupped his fists. Please continue to solve the formation here. I will take care of these absolute realm warriors. Crush the jade talisman, and I will come in right away. And Kuan Mo replied. He did not mind too much. It did not matter to him whether Bei Xian was here or not. After all, his goal was to help Bei Xian kill Lu Li and get the almighty artifact. Bei Xian took out a spatial divine item and brought Jin Yin and the others out. The physical bodies of these paragon-level cultivators had been destroyed, but their souls were still intact. They could form a new physical body once they were out. After bringing Jin Yin and the others into the spatial divine tool, Bei Xian walked out. His figure flashed, and he flew tens of thousands of miles away. The full perfection deity that Lord Yin had left behind did not dare to chase after him, afraid that he would be killed by Bei Xian. Bei Xian flew for hundreds of thousands of miles, after which he took out a jade talisman and crushed it, waiting outside a small mountain. Xiao! An hour later, a figure flew over and knelt on one knee in front of Bei Xian. Greetings, Realm King. Bei Xian casually threw out a spatial divine item and said, Jinya and Gangwei and the others are inside. Their bodies have been destroyed, but their souls are fine. Help them rebuild their physical bodies in the region of universe as soon as possible. Try to finish it in 3 months. Then, tell Jin Yin and the others to go to the chaotic star region at once. I don't care what they do, capture Lu Li's family. You go there in person and lead this secretly. Do not show your face in public. Remember to build a communication altar over there and keep in touch with me at all times. Yes, this powerful warrior was Bei Luan. He just didn't show up at the beginning. He thought about it and asked, Family Patriarch, I don't have many elixirs that can rebuild physical bodies. Is it okay if I go to a nearby race and ask for some? Sure. Bei Xian waved his hand and said, Do it secretly and keep a low profile. Don't let them have anything to hold against you. Understood. Bei Luan flew away quickly. Bei Xian didn't go back to the ice river valley. He stood on a mountain for a long time before he sighed and said, Now that things have come to this, I have no other way out. I am like a boat sailing against the current. If I don't move forward, I'll be pushed back. For this prince to be forced by you to use your family as hostages, you could be considered a capable person. Bei Xian went back and entered the Ice Queen's palace again. He observed for a while. Seeing that Kuan Mo was working on the formation, Bei Xian sat down and waited. There were 7 or 8 patterns in there. Kuan Mo was fast. In 6 or 7 days, Kuan Mo had cracked all the formations. Bei Xian followed Lu Lian. Even though the 2 realm masters were of high status, they still had to crawl in like Lu Li. There was a passage with complicated patterns. It would take decades to crack it completely. Kuan Mo was not that free, so he had to crawl in like Lu Li. Standing in front of the statue, Kuan Mo and Bei Xian said nothing. The 2 powerful warriors stared at the lifelike face on the statue with mixed feelings. This was an almighty immortal, a being that could never die. How could such a beautiful woman pass away? Kuan Mo and Bei Xian bowed to the statue 3 times and then began to look around. They could tell that the patterns on the statue were horrifying. They didn't dare to get close to the statue. There are 2 side halls. After a while, Kuan Mo looked to the left and right. He frowned and said, The patterns on the 2 side halls are intact. It will take a long time to crack them. Conservatively speaking, it will take at least 10 years to crack 1 side hall. Bei Xian's heart was weighed down. Was Kuan Mo going to give up? If Kuan Mo didn't help and Bei Xian tried to crack the patterns on his own, it would take him hundreds of years. Bei Xian thought for a while and said, Lord Kuan, I know something about Lu Li. He has a strange skill. Even some at the absolute perfection realm cannot find him. He once subdued 2 major races, and both of them had at the absolute perfection realm. He is very vengeful. If we don't kill him, there'll be endless troubles. Kuan Mo looked at him emotionlessly and said, Don't beat around the bush. I promise you that I will do my best. How about this? No matter how difficult it is to crack the patterns here, I will stay here for 30 years. If I cannot find him in 30 years, I will leave. You must fulfill your promise. What do you say? 30 years. Bei Xian did some calculations. Kuan and Mo said it would take 20 years to crack the two side halls. Maybe 30 years. If they could not find Lu Li or kill him in 30 years, then it would be pointless for them to waste more time. Bei Xian nodded and said, "Okay. Thank you, Lord Kuan. Don't worry. No matter how it ends, I will do what I promised you." "That's enough." Old Kuan waved his hands. "You don't have to suffer here. It's too difficult for you to endure the coldness here. Just wait outside. The divine inscriptions here require time to decipher. This old man will inform you if there's any situation." "Okay. Thank you, Lord Kuan." Bei Xian didn't want to suffer here either. The main thing was that he couldn't be of much help. He might as well go out and take command. He could take the chance to remotely control what was happening in the chaotic star region. Bei Xian left. Kuan and Mo sat down and began to check the patterns nearby. He still had some years left in his life. It didn't matter if he spent 30 years. Chapter 3704. Soon, more than half a year had passed. Peace had returned to the chaotic star region. It had been a long time, but the few absolute realm warriors never showed up again. The lockdown was lifted at the Skycross city. There were more warriors in the city, and many patriarchs of the god of death had come out. Since the god of death said everything was fine, the other 9 masters were relieved. If something were to happen, it would be the god of death. It had nothing to do with them. Of course, the warriors of the god of death would continue to investigate. They could not afford to be careless. The 9 masters of the god of death didn't come to the Skycross city. They were still lurking in the dark. They could not rest easy as long as Lu Li was not back. They had a good control over the territory of the god of death. Nothing would go wrong. They would wait for a few years. As for the Lu Alliance, Lu Li would not let anyone out. Many young disciples of the Lu Alliance missed the colorful world outside and thought it was too boring to stay in the ancestral land. But Lu Li had given orders, and Lu Ling had mobilized patriarchs of the Lu Alliance in person. They could not sneak out even if they wanted to. Lu Ling had given them a large amount of resources and told them to find a place to cultivate. Without Lu Li's permission, she would not let anyone out. Lu Li had said that he could take care of things in a few years at most. A few years in the ancestral land was not a big deal. What they didn't know was, at the moment, a battleship was flying toward the chaotic star region. It was a ghost ship that could not be seen from the outside. Apart from those at the absolute realm, not even those close to the absolute realm could see the battleship. Inside the battleship were 8 powerful warriors, all at the absolute realm. They were Bei Luan and Jin Yan. Bei Luan went to the Palace of Fish and asked them to prepare some materials to rebuild their bodies. For Jin Yan and the others, rebuilding their bodies would affect their abilities. For example, Jin Yan could not use his talent. However, it was already good enough that he managed to keep his life. The 3 great perfection deities that were left outside had all been killed. Needless to say, who was the one killed? Even though their abilities were weakened, they were still at the absolute realm, and they were still at the top of the world. They hated Lu Li to the core. If it weren't for Lu Li, their bodies wouldn't have been destroyed. Therefore, after hearing Bei Xian's order, they didn't hesitate and immediately rushed over on the warship. The journey would take a few months, which was just enough time for them to get used to their physical bodies. This way, they wouldn't be killed because their bodies weren't used to it. The battleship had been traveling for more than 3 months. They were not far from the chaotic starfield. Bei Luan took out a map and called out to a group of experts. He said, "Previously, your strategy was too direct. Without knowing the situation, you directly charged into Skyleap City and alerted the enemy." Jin Yan's cheeks were burning. Last time, they were too careless. Lu Li had made arrangements, and they had to return empty-handed. Instead, he was lured to the Ice River Valley by Lu Li and almost lost his life there. Jin Yan cupped his hands and said, "Lord Balan, tell us what to do. We will listen to you." "Very simple." Balin pointed at an interface and said, "This is a dominating force next to the Grim Reaper, the Fire Beacon Pavilion. They only have 1 paragon. We will directly go to the Fire Beacon Pavilion and take down this paragon. Then, the Fire Beacon Pavilion will have no choice but to listen to us. We will use the power of the Fire Beacon Pavilion to control the situation of the Grim Reaper. After we figure out the situation, we will take down all of Lu Li's families." Bei Xian told Bei Luan everything. Bei Luan knew very well how serious this matter was to the Bei family. If Lu Li wasn't killed, then the Bei family would be the unlucky ones. Therefore, he was very concerned and wanted to take down Lu Li's family at all costs. The group of powerful warriors entered the chaotic starfield. The battleship continued to fly toward the Fire Beacon Pavilion in a low-key manner. After 2 months, they arrived at the main interface of the Fire Beacon Pavilion, the Fire Beacon region. 8 powerful warriors sneaked in and went directly to the Fire Beacon City. According to their intelligence, the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion was in the Fire Beacon City because his entire family was here. The 8 powerful warriors arrived at the Fire Beacon City and sensed the presence of the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion. Jin Yin didn't show himself. He used psychic power to lock onto the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion and said, "Master, if you don't want all the warriors in the city to die, please come out." The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion also sensed that there were 7 warriors at the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion. He was frightened. He wanted to run, but he didn't have the confidence to do so. What was more, even if he could run away, what about his descendants? The other party had said that if he didn't cooperate, the city would be destroyed in an instant. After the time, for more than a dozen breaths, the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion had no other choice. He flew out and landed on a small mountain outside of the city. 7 people came out from the mountain. Bei Lun didn't come out. Bei Xian told him to act in secret, so he chose to control from behind the scenes. Bei Luan had talked to Jin Yin. Jin Yin was the leader here. Mount Yu, Yin Ling, and Tong Xuan didn't say anything. Their reconstructed bodies were no different from before. The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion recognized them right away. Jin Yin looked at the powerful warriors bitterly. He didn't say anything and just stood where he was. "Foam." Jin Yin opened his mouth and said in an overbearing manner, "We need your cooperation. Otherwise, not only will you die, your entire clan will die." The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion said emotionlessly, "How? Cooperate with what?" Jin Yin said, "We are going to take down Lu Li's family, and we need your full cooperation. Either we take down Lu Li's family, or we kill all your family members. Make your choice." Lu Li, the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion, cursed to himself. Lu Li had caused trouble, and now he was implicated. He looked at Mount Yu, Tong Sun, and Du Ling. He couldn't blame it all on Lu Li. They all had a part in this. The Gang clan and the Tong clan were suppressed by them together. The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion didn't say anything. After a while, he looked up and said, "How do I know that if I cooperate with you, you will not blame me later? I don't think Brother Mount Yu and Brother Tong Sun will let any of them go when they make a comeback. You don't have to worry about that." Jin Yin waved his hand in a domineering manner and said, "I will make the decision. The 2 races will not come back to the Chaotic Star region. As long as you cooperate with us, I can guarantee the safety of your race. We will not blame you later." "Ha." The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion laughed and said, "You didn't tell me who you are. I don't believe you. Are you courting death?" Jin Yin was enraged. He shouted with killing intent, "You don't have a choice. Either you believe us or you will die. Your entire race will die. Then let's do it." The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion took out his supreme weapon and said coldly, "I want to see if the 9 region lords will do anything to you at the Celestial region. I will die either way. Today, I will drag one of you down with me." Courting death. Jin Yin was enraged and was about to make a move. Bei Lun couldn't stand it anymore. He appeared outside and said, "Stop." Jin Yin's killing intent disappeared. Bei Lun walked to the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion and said, "I am Bei Lun, the chief patriarch of the Bei family of the northern region of the Celestial region. I promise you with my own mouth. Is this enough? If you think it is not enough, then I will have to make you disappear. The Fire Beacon Pavilion won't cooperate, but I believe the other dominant forces will." "The Bei family?" The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion pondered and said, "Okay, I will cooperate. Chapter 3705. Luli didn't know that 8 warriors of the Chaotic Star region had gone to kill their way there. It was not that he didn't know, but that he didn't even try. During this period of time, he had been dealing with one thing, and that was how to overcome the cold. He couldn't stand it anymore. The coldness was not only in his bones, but also in the depth of his soul. This feeling was so uncomfortable that Luli wanted to curl up and roll around on the ground. He could use psychic power, but not the Dharma realm. He could use origin energy, but it was just as cold. After a few days, Luli felt he couldn't stand it anymore. He had been trying to think of ways to resist the cold. Therefore, he didn't have time to worry about the outside world. As far as he could tell, the Lu family should be safe at the ancestral ground. The 2 realm kings wouldn't go and make things difficult for their family. He couldn't stand the cold either. It was so cold that his soul felt numb. He was moving forward in the wind and snow. There was a faint halo around him. He was wrapped in thick cotton clothes. His lips were pale, and his face was pale. He was trembling. He had been walking in this place for a long time. At first, he wanted to find an exit. He didn't find one, and he didn't want to stop. He was afraid that he would freeze to death if he did. It was strange here. There was no ice or freezing him. It was just cold. He couldn't stand the cold. He had to keep moving forward. Movement could bring him some heat, even though he knew it was useless. The world seemed to be vast. He walked forward in a straight line. He was not fast, but he had been walking for a long time. It was still a blur. The ground was flat, with only a thick layer of ice. It was as if the void was frozen. There were no creatures here. There was no breath of life. But the chi in heaven and earth was rich. Apart from the wind, snow and ice, there was nothing here. Luli felt his consciousness blurred. His mind was not as agile as before. He was numb. He didn't know why there was a thought in his mind that drove him forward. He didn't know if there was an exit or not. Even if there was, would he dare to go out? There were 2 realm kings out there. He didn't know what was the point of moving forward. He was just walking like a machine. It was too cold. Only today did he realize how uncomfortable it was to be cold. It was thousands of times worse than pain. He did not know what to do, nor did he know how to get out of this predicament. He only knew to walk forward mechanically until he froze to death. The wind and snow were all over the place, and the cries were ear-piercing. Luli staggered forward step by step. He curled up into a ball because of the cold. His eyes were blurred as well. He stared at the front blankly, not knowing where his future lay or where he was going. There was something wrong with Luli's state. His consciousness was obviously not under his control, or it could be said that his soul was in a muddled state, not in a completely awake state. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't continue to walk, nor would he ignore what was going on in the outside world. At the very least, after walking for a month, he would use his sovereign artifact to investigate. There seemed to be some kind of magic in this strange world that was secretly controlling Luli's soul and controlling him to move forward. Outside, there was no movement from Kuan Mo. He had been studying the divine inscriptions. The divine inscriptions here were simply too powerful. Initially, he estimated that he would need at least 10 years to decipher them. But now, he estimated that he wouldn't be able to decipher them even after 10 years. He was prepared to observe for a year or 2 before slowly deciphering them. Well done, Bei Luan. Bei Xian was sitting leisurely in a nearby city. He received a message from Bei Luan and learned that Bei Luan had taken control of the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion. He was using the master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion to find out about Luli's situation. He planned to succeed in one fell swoop after he found out the situation. Bei Xian sent a message and agreed with Bei Luan's strategy. If he didn't make a move, he must take control of the entire situation. What happened last time could not happen again. Bei Luan had the same idea. At the moment, he was sitting in Feng Yi's palace, holding the information sent by the Fire Beacon Pavilion. The information was not detailed, but one thing was clear. None of Luli's family had come out. They were all in hiding. Bei Luan felt lucky that he didn't go to the Tianyu city directly. Otherwise, he would have alerted Luli's family, and it would be more difficult to capture them. Bei Luan asked the Fire Beacon Pavilion to send out a group of top-level scouts and also some spies to find out about the God of Death. The direct descendants of the Feng family were all in the city, and Feng, he wanted to secretly move them away. Unfortunately, the entire city was under the surveillance of half a great perfection deity, and the direct descendants of the Feng clan had long been locked down. It might not matter if one of them was missing, but if a few were missing, the group of great perfection deities would make their move. Jin Yin wasn't a kind person, someone who would kill at the slightest disagreement. It's better for you to die than for me. The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion had no choice but to sell Lu Li out. If he didn't, then it would be him and his people who were going to die. If Lu Li survived and wanted to settle the score with him, then he would have to accept it. But could Lu Li survive? Could he resist so many great perfection deities? If he could resist it, he would have returned long ago. What was more, a Realm King family had come in person. Lu Li and the Lu family were doomed. All the major factions had planted spies in each other. This was something that could not be helped. Unless they did not recruit external cultivators, spies were unavoidable. The Grim Reaper's internal affairs were especially chaotic. It had absorbed countless foreign cultivators, and the various sovereigns had arranged for many spies to infiltrate it. Even some patriarchs of the Grim Reaper were spies for the sovereigns. The Fire Beacon Pavilion didn't even have to send out scouts if they wanted information about the Grim Reaper. They could just contact some spies, and they could get some general information. In just over a month, detailed information was delivered. The master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion was relieved after he read it. He could report back with this information. Beiluan put on a smile when he read the information. The information was detailed. The current situation of the Grim Reaper, the distribution of powerful warriors of the Grim Reaper, the location of the Lu family, everything was clearly stated. Even the places where the two giants were staying were clearly stated. The only thing that Beiluan regretted was that the information stated that Lu Li's family and disciples of the Lu Alliance were all at the ancestral land. As for where the ancestral land was, Beiluan didn't have the authority to know. The spy was a patriarch. None of the great patriarchs, let alone Beiluan, had the right to know. Only the few giants and a few hardcore patriarchs knew where the ancestral land was. Beiluan thought about it for a while. He realized that there was only one way to go. In order to enter the ancestral land and capture Lu Li's family, he had to capture one or two warriors of the Grim Reaper first. Otherwise, once Lu Li's family got the news, they would all be relocated to some secret areas. By then, it would be difficult for Beiluan to search. Remembrance of the Reaper. Beiluan waved his hand and said, "Send a message to the Grim Reaper and ask Emperor Li or Emperor Mo to come over. You can think of a reason. Anyway, try to trick some warriors over. When this is done, there will be nothing else for you to do. We will leave for the ancestral land of the Grim Reaper." Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3706. Chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion did not send a direct message. The 9 powerful warriors had not shown up recently, which meant that they were on high alert. Any sign of trouble could alarm them. Therefore, Chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion made some arrangements to have some conflicts with the God of Death. The two universes were next to each other. Conflicts could not be simpler. One sent out a direct descendant, and then he went to a universe where the God of Death was. He raped and killed a young lady of a major family. The God of Death was enraged and reported to the 9 powerful warriors. The 9 powerful warriors were agitated. Many things had happened recently, and they were all trembling with fear. What was wrong with the young master of the Fire Beacon Pavilion? Why did he come here to make trouble? Did he want to see the God of Death here? The 9 powerful warriors wanted to turn the matter into nothing. They sent a message to the Fire Beacon Pavilion, asking for an explanation or they would report to the Hall of Justice. Chief Patriarch of the Fire Beacon Pavilion replied that he was willing to settle the matter in private. This young master of the direct descendant was favored by the chief. The chief sent a message in person, asking Lu Li or Emperor Li to go over. He would hold a feast to apologize and give a satisfactory explanation. Since the God of Death was in a precarious situation, he did not want to be involved. What about Emperor Li and the others when the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion invited them in person and Lu Li was not there? Should they send patriarchs over? That would be disrespectful to the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion. After a moment of discussion, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu went over in person. Emperor Li would not miss the chance to have a perfect warrior apologize in person. Now that Lu Li was not here, Emperor Li was treating himself as the boss. The two powerful warriors teleported to the Fire Beacon City and were taken to a luxurious castle. As soon as they entered, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu sensed something was wrong. Not only was the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion here, there were two other powerful warriors. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were scared out of their wits when they saw the two powerful warriors. It was Gang Yu and Tong Sun. "Since you are here, come in and sit down," Gang Yu said. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu wanted to run, but it was unnecessary. Three perfect warriors were here, and they were not Lu Li. No matter how they struggled, it would be futile. Emperor Li stared at the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion coldly and said, "Feng Yi, how dare you? Are you not afraid that Lu Li will wipe out your family?" "There's nothing I can do." Feng Yi sighed slightly and said, "If you don't come, I will die. What do you want me to do?" The two of them were here to deal with Lu Li, so there were more than two of them. "If you don't want to die, and if you don't want your family to be exterminated, please cooperate." Rustle, 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 outside the hall, Jin Yin showed up with the four consummate warriors. He walked in, walked to Emperor Li, and said coldly, "Feng Yi is right. We are not targeting you or the god of death. We only want Lu Li's family. Either you die and your people perish, or you cooperate with us to take Lu Li's people away. Make your choice." Emperor Li and Emperor Yu's eyes flickered as they cursed Feng Yi's 18 generations of ancestors in their hearts. They were also hesitant in their hearts. Lu Li had built up his prestige over the years. Even though they were not convinced on the surface, deep down, they were convinced. They were afraid of Lu Li betraying the Lu family. Afterward, Lu Li would slaughter them all. They all knew how cruel and ruthless Lu Li was. Lu Li hated betrayal the most. Once they betrayed him, when Lu Li came back, their families would be wiped out. There was no doubt about it. If they didn't cooperate, they would die right now. But their families might not be exterminated because their families were at their ancestral lands. This was because their race was located in the ancestral land. If this group of great perfection deities could find the ancestral land, would they need to resort to such a scheme? They could just kill their way to their ancestral lands. Therefore, if they didn't cooperate, their families might not. Nobody wanted to die. They still had a long life ahead of them. If they could live, they wouldn't want to die. That was why they were hesitating. Seeing that the two didn't say anything, Jin Yin spread out his qi and energy, making it hard for them to breathe. Jin Yin said with killing intent, "Think about it. Lu Li will die for sure this time. What can you get out of helping him? Even without Lu Li, you can still survive with the abilities of the other leaders of the Grim Reaper. If you're stubborn to the end, with the power of the seven of us, your Grim Reaper will be destroyed in a month." Emperor Li made up his mind and said, "Kill us. We will never betray Lu Li. We are willing to die." Emperor Yu said nothing. His eyes flickered. Jin Yin took out his supreme weapon and said coldly, "Since you are asking for death, then I will send you on your way. Later, I will kill all of you." Emperor Yu and Emperor Li trembled in the face of the killing intent from the consummate warriors. They didn't even think about fighting back. They couldn't hurt any of them, let alone so many consummate warriors. Jin Yin took out his saber. He lifted it up slowly. Death enveloped Emperor Yu and Emperor Li. Emperor Li closed his eyes, ready to die. Emperor Yu's face turned pale. All of a sudden, he shouted, "Wait, you said you will not hurt us and our families. Can you promise?" Emperor Li opened his eyes and glared at Emperor Yu. "Brother Yu, are you out of your mind? You are asking a tiger for its skin. How can you trust him so easily? Don't you know what Lu Li is capable of? If they could kill Lu Li, would they need to capture his family? When Lu Li comes back, our families will be wiped out. Ridiculous." Right at that moment, someone scolded from outside. Balun walked in and said, "Let me introduce myself. I am Balun, the chief patriarch of the Bei family of the northern region. Lu Li is in the Ice River in the region of universe. He is trapped by our family patriarch and King Kun. There are too many divine patterns there, and it will take some time to solve them. Our family patriarch is losing his patience and has ordered us to capture Lu Li's family. Can Lu Li escape with his life when two realm masters are here in person? Don't you think you are overthinking? Chief patriarch of the Bei family of the northern region, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu looked at each other in surprise. How many northern region and Bei family were there in the world? They were sure of Bei Luan's identity. The fact that he could mobilize so many consummate warriors proved something. What was more, who would dare to pretend to be the chief patriarch of the Bei family? Was he tired of living? King Kuan and King Kuan? Emperor Li pondered these two names for a moment, and a bitter smile appeared on his lips. He had been to the immortal region. He knew what the two names meant. Lu Li was so influential that he could make two realm masters come in person. What was more, he was still alive. Emperor Yu gulped and said, trembling, I need a guarantee. I need you to make an almighty oath. I guarantee it, Bei Luan said with pride. Who do you think you are? To me, you're just puny insects. Is there any difference to me whether I kill you or not? My words are precious. As long as you cooperate with me in capturing Lu Li's family, I promise that I will not hurt any other warrior of the Grim Reaper. In short, are you willing to cooperate or not? If not, your two families will be wiped out. Once again, Bei Luan used the method he used on Fomi. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu looked at each other and forced a smile. In the end, they lowered their heads, which they thought was noble. Emperor Yu cupped his fists and said, Lord Bei, we are willing to cooperate. Chapter 3707 Star Sand Region. Inside an underground castle, Emperor Mo, the Winged King, and the Feather King were hiding here. The 10 leaders of the Grim Reaper were hiding separately. Besides the leaders, only a few elders knew that they were hiding here. They used a messaging altar to send messages. It was impossible to track them. Emperor Mo and King of Feather were drinking tea in the hall when King of Wings hurried in. He frowned and said with a piece of information in his hand, something is wrong. Emperor Mo and King of Feather put down their teacups and looked over. King of Wings explained, our spies at the Fire Beacon Pavilion sent a message. They seem to have sensed some powerful warriors in the castle. They suspect they are at the consummate level, but that place is locked down. They cannot get close, so they are not sure. Several consummate level warriors? Emperor Mo and King of Feather were worried. Emperor Mo asked, it is not normal for the Fire Beacon Pavilion to come looking for trouble at such a critical moment. Lu Li is not here, and the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion sent an invitation. Is the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion being controlled? King of Feather pulled a long face. If the chief of the Fire Beacon Pavilion is being controlled, then both Emperor Li and Emperor Yu are in danger. We are not safe here either. Let's go back to our ancestral land. King of Wings asked after a moment of hesitation, now, if nothing is wrong, it will only take us some time to leave. King of Feather said, if something is wrong, leaving can save our lives and the lives of our people in our ancestral land. Let's go. Emperor Mo did not hesitate, and King of Wings could not say anything else. He found 2 patriarchs and told them to make arrangements. Then, the 3 of them left on a secret teleportation altar. At the same time, they sent a message to the other leaders to return to their ancestral land as well. They said there might be changes, but they should not leak any information. As soon as they returned to their ancestral land, Emperor Mo ordered to seal off the entrances and exits. At the same time, he contacted those outside to gather information, especially about Emperor Li, Emperor Yu, and the Fire Beacon Pavilion. Emperor Mo and King of Feather went to the city where the Lu family was. Whatever the case, the enemies must be coming for the Lu family because they were of no value to the enemies. Only Lu Li's family was of value. Lu Ling and Lu Renhuang came out to greet Emperor Mo and King of Feather in person. Emperor Mo cut to the chase. Can you contact Lu Li? Lu Ling and Lu Renhuang looked at each other. Lu Ling said, we can try. It has been some time since Lu Li contacted us. Get in touch with Lu Li now. Sovereign Mo said, "We suspect that those great perfection deities have come again, and they might have taken control of the Fire Beacon Pavilion Master, as well as Emperor Li and Emperor Yu." Lu Ling could not afford to be careless. She crushed a jade talisman which was given to her by Lu Li. Usually, Lu Li would use some means to contact her as soon as he crushed it. Lu Ling waited quietly. Emperor Mo and the others waited nervously as well. About an hour later, there was no psychic power from Lu Li. Lu Ling's mind was weighed down. He must be occupied. He cannot contact us. Emperor Mo and Emperor Yu were a little anxious. Emperor Mo paced back and forth in the hall and said, "No, you have to move. Move immediately. The core members of the Lu family should move first. If there is nothing else, I will inform you to come back later." "Transfer?" Lu Ling asked. "Is our ancestral ground not safe now?" "Transfer? Where are we going?" "I know of a secret realm," Emperor Mo said. "I'm the only one that knows about this secret realm. You, the core members of the Lu family, go in first. If there is no danger, come out later. If there is danger, you can hide in there. When you are safe, we will be safe. Do you understand?" "Sure." Lu Ling was a resolute person. She trusted Emperor Mo and Emperor Yu. Lu Li had told her that they could be trusted. She didn't think too much. She sent out an order to gather the core members of the Lu Alliance. The operation must be discreet. With a large number of people, they would be discovered easily. If they were tracked down, what was the point of running away? According to Emperor Mo, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu might be controlled. If so, the Grim Reaper would not trust them completely. Lu Ling gathered the senior leaders and told them to evacuate. Those who were willing to stay would stay, and those who were willing to leave would leave. In the end, most of the senior leaders of the Lu Alliance left. A small number were still worried and didn't think anything would go wrong. The ancestral ground was well hidden. Only the 9 leaders could find it. The senior leaders who stayed believed that Emperor Li and Emperor Yu would not be so stupid. If they brought enemies here, their families would be wiped out. There were more than 100,000 disciples of the Lu Alliance and hundreds of senior leaders. Lu Ling took with her more than 300, and the immediate Lu family members added up to 3,000. The 3,000 people all went into the interspatial artifact. Emperor Mo saw them off in person. When they were far away, Emperor Mo let Lu Ling and the others out. Lu Ling didn't let them all in the interspatial artifact. She only flew to the secret realm mentioned by Emperor Mo. Emperor Mo was the only one who knew about this secret realm. Unless Emperor Mo was captured and interrogated, they would be safe. Somehow, Emperor Mo felt relieved after seeing Lu Ling and the others out. He was well aware that for warriors at the ultimate realm of the immortal region, their lives and deaths were not important. Neither were their families. Lu Li's family and people were the most important. If Lu Li's family and people were captured, then there would be no need for them to exist. They would all be killed. On the other hand, if Lu Li's family and people were not captured, then the warriors of the immortal region would not dare to touch them easily. Also, if they were captured, they would not be a threat to Lu Li. Lu Li could take a gamble, and it would be easier for him to break out of this situation. Speaking of which, they were implicated by Lu Li this time. Emperor Mo did not have any complaints. Without Lu Li, the Grim Reaper would not be where it was today. Since they had gained so much, they had to bear some risks. There was no free lunch in this world. They were all in the same boat. They had to go through thick and thin together. Only by following Lu Li could the Grim Reaper grow stronger. Without Lu Li, the Grim Reaper would return to its original state and die a miserable death. King Mo had just returned to the ancestral ground when the Feather King and the Avian King came over. The Feather King had an ugly expression as he said, "According to the new analysis, there's an 80% chance that Fire Beacon Pavilion has several grand perfection experts. 2 hours ago, King Li and King Yu sent a secret message to gather several elders at Fire Beacon City. There's also a 70% chance that they are being controlled. It is no longer safe here." Emperor Mo smiled bitterly. "Let's move." Let some of our people go and preserve the seed of hope. Then we will defend our ancestral ground with our lives and wait for Luli to come back. The world is vast, and we have nowhere to run. Emperor, you go out and take control of the situation. We will stay here. Sure. Emperor Feather and Emperor nodded. It was difficult for all of them to run away. If Emperor Li and Emperor Yu betrayed them, then the enemy would have all the secrets of the Grim Reaper. Where could they run to? They might as well stay here and wait for Luli to come back. Chapter 3708. Over at the Fire Beacon Pavilion, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu gathered some trusted patriarchs to make some secret arrangements. Then, they were ready to take action. Bei Luan and Jinyan's goal was clear, to capture Lu Li's family and friends. As long as they could capture Lu Li's family, Bei Luan and Jinyan's mission would be accomplished. Emperor Li and the others would be safe. By then, Lu Li would die and there would be no more hidden dangers. With Lu Li's death, the god of death would decline. If they did not handle the situation well, the god of death would be wiped out. But that was a matter for the future. If they did not cooperate now, they would die and the two races would be wiped out. If the two races were wiped out, then the existence of the god of death would mean nothing to them. Something is not right. Emperor Li's heart was weighed down by the message he received from several trusted patriarchs. He cupped his fist to Bei Lun and said, Lord Bei, we must act as soon as possible. Our information may have been leaked. The other leaders have all retreated to their ancestral lands. If we do not act now, they will all move away. It will be more troublesome to hunt them down. What? A glint of coldness rose in Bei Luan's eyes. He stared at Emperor Li and Emperor Yu with suspicion. Emperor Li said at once, Lord, it is not us who leaked the information. Feng, he has summoned us. There are many suspicious points. Do not forget where the god of death comes from. We're the best when it comes to intelligence, and we're the most sensitive when it comes to danger. It is normal that Emperor Mo and the others felt something was wrong and left early. Bei Luan stared at them and asked, Are we going to the ancestral lands directly? Yes, Emperor Li said. If they did not activate the formation at the entrance, it will be easy for us to go in. But if it is, it will be a problem. The formation at the entrance is not built by us. It is innate and strong. It will take us a long time to crack it open. Let's go. Bei Luan could not wait any longer. If Lu Li's family escaped, it would be a huge problem. He left the Fire Beacon universe with all the powerful warriors, Emperor Li, Emperor Yu, and the patriarchs. Feng, he didn't follow them. It was only after they left that Feng, he felt relieved. Luli, I am sorry. I have no other choice. Feng, he let out a long sigh. She stood in a daze for a while before saying, Someone summon all the elders. Prepare to carry out the Spar plan. Spar plan? An elder's expression slightly changed. This was a plan to prevent the Feng clan from being exterminated. Once this plan was executed, the young elites of the Feng clan would be sent into a secret realm. After that, the mystic realm would be sealed shut. There was no way to open the mystic realm. They could only wait for 5,000 years for the mystic realm to form another entrance. In other words, once this plan was carried out, the elites of the younger generation would be trapped for 5,000 years. They would bid farewell to the outside world and cultivate bitterly in the mystic realm. 5,000 years later, the youth of young people would no longer exist. For them, this was a very painful thing. Cut the crap. Feng, he waved her hand and said, Immediately gather all the elders to carry out this plan. There's no room for discussion. Just carry it out immediately. This is my order. There must be no mistakes. After the elder left to pass the order, Feng, he cast her gaze towards the air, her eyes filled with worry. This time, no matter which side won, Feng, he felt that they would be in deep trouble. On this side, Bei Luan had snuck in. He obviously didn't want to leave any evidence and didn't want the other realm kings to have an excuse. Since that was the case, it was very likely that they would silence him and destroy the evidence, especially when they saw Bei Luan. If Lu Li's side won, then Feng Yi's side would be in a worse situation. Given Lu Li's character, there would be no survivors of the Feng family. If they carried out the Spark plan now, at least the elites of the younger generation of the Feng family could be saved no matter what. The Feng family wouldn't be wiped out. There was still hope for them to rise again. That mystic realm had accumulated a large amount of resources. The young elites could cultivate for thousands of years in there. Their realms would be quite good. After cultivating for thousands of years, many of them would be infinitely close to the consummate realm. If they could reach the consummate realm, the Feng family could rise again easily. The Feng family patriarchs were summoned. They didn't know what was going on and were confused. Several patriarchs even came to see Feng Yi. After receiving confirmation, the patriarchs had no other choice but to carry out the order. Feng Yi was at the consummate realm, their family patriarch. They couldn't disobey any of Feng Yi's orders. This was the absolute authority of a consummate realm warrior. The other patriarchs didn't dare to disobey. The Feng family took action urgently. The young elites were grief-stricken when they heard the news. Since they were called the elites of the young generation, they must be the direct descendants. They were the descendants of the ruler and could call the wind and summon the rain in the entire Death City. They loved prosperity and liveliness at such a young age. Entering the mystic realm to cultivate for thousands of years was worse than killing them. Feng Yi's order was the decree of God. It couldn't be changed unless you betrayed the Fire Beacon Pavilion. Immediately, groups of young martial artists were gathered and continuously teleported away through the teleportation altar. 70% of the young elites of the Feng family were sent away. This plan would probably take at least 2 months to carry out. Feng Yi estimated that Bei Luan might not be able to succeed in 2 months. Bei Luan and the others left on the spectral worship. The Death God's ancestral ground wasn't in a certain realm. It was in a dangerous place. If one wasn't infinitely close to the consummate realm, they would definitely die. Therefore, the Death God's ancestral ground was very well hidden. Even the Death God's top scouts couldn't find it. The worship was very fast. It only took them about 10 days to reach their destination. They entered a deserted world that was filled with toxins and powerful formations. There was also a powerful warrior of the Death God who was infinitely close to the consummate realm guarding the place. Since Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were here, the warriors guarding the place didn't dare to say anything. Even though Bei Luan and the others were in disguise, they didn't dare to ask any questions. Emperor Li teleported them away. They were teleported to another deserted world. When they left the deserted world, they saw a huge whirlpool outside. In the whirlpool, there was a horrifying gust of wind. There seemed to be lightning flashing in the whirlpool. It must be dangerous. Our ancestral ground is in there. Emperor Li cupped his fists and said, "Lord Bei, I hope you can keep your promise and don't hurt our people. We are victims as well. We were threatened by Lu Li, and there's nothing we can do." "Don't worry," Bei Luan said coldly. "What difference does it make to us if we kill you or not? We are only targeting Lu Li. It is meaningless to kill your people. I, Bei Luan, am the chief patriarch of the Bei family. My promise is valid." "Thank you, Lord." Emperor Li cupped his fists and asked several patriarchs to stay here. Then, he flew into the whirlpool with a group of consummate realm warriors. The inside of the whirlpool was horrifying. Of course, it had no effect on the consummate realm warriors. They reached the center of the whirlpool easily. Emperor Li took a look and sighed. The entrance is sealed and the formation is activated. "Lord Bei, there is no other way. We must blast open the entrance if we want to go in." Bei Luan didn't waste time. He waved his hand and said, "Blast it open. Remember the mobile website." Chapter 3709. The 7 absolute warriors were spinning with the swirl. It was not that they could not withstand the force of the swirl. It was just that they were too busy attacking to do so. After all, the swirl did not mean anything to them. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were spinning as well. This was an eye-opener for them. The 7 absolute warriors were releasing all kinds of powerful attacks. The attacks of the Great Perfection Realm cultivators were simply too powerful. Just a casual strike from them was enough to shatter the heavens and rend the earth. That was because the formation at the entrance was strong. Otherwise, it would have been blasted open. By the looks of it, in 10 days at most, with the continuous attacks of 7 absolute warriors, the pattern would be blasted open. Once the formation was blasted open, the formation would be useless and the ancestral ground would be ruined. Regular patterns will be meaningless. Enemies could go in at will. What was the use of the ancestral ground? Of course, if it was Luli who was here to do the pattern, it would be meaningful. But things had come to this. If Luli could build the runes, would Emperor Li, Emperor Yu, and the 2 races have a chance to survive? Either Luli died or they died. When they decided to betray Lu Li, there was no turning back. They would either kill Lu Li or their entire race would be doomed. Over the years, they were not happy with Lu Li. Emperor Li was disappointed that Lu Li had taken over the position of Emperor Li. With Lu Li's arrival, the Li family could gain more benefits. That being said, Emperor Li was still unhappy. It was impossible that the people inside could not sense the attacks from the outside. Several powerful warriors were near the entrance. They had received the news as well. They knew that Emperor Yu and Emperor Li had come with a group of absolute warriors, and they were outside. None of the 5 magnates looked happy. Apart from Emperor of Wings and another Emperor of Dragon, the rest of the 7 had come to the ancestral ground. The betrayal of Emperor Li and Emperor Yu pained them. They did not expect that Emperor Li and Emperor Yu would bring enemies to the ancestral ground. The first few powerful warriors had been with Emperor Li and Emperor Yu for many years. They had gone through so many trials and gone through life and death together. They did not expect that Emperor Li and Emperor Yu would choose to betray, and so thoroughly. Were they really that afraid of death? Emperor Yu was hot-tempered. Just now, he proposed to kill all the disciples of the 2 races. In the end, they were suppressed by Sovereign Mo. Now that things had come to this, the divine formation might not be able to hold on any longer. It was hard to say whether they would live or die. After killing the clansmen of Emperor Li and Emperor Yu, when the divine formation was broken, none of their clansmen would be able to live. If they didn't kill them, perhaps Emperor Li and Emperor Yu would spare their clansmen on account of their old friendship. Why isn't Luli back yet? Emperor Mo was getting anxious. Theoretically speaking, Luli would have contacted them as soon as Lu Ling crushed the Jade Talisman unless he had no other choice. Luli had the ability to send messages over a long distance, even though Emperor Mo could not explain how he did it. It had been a long time and there was no news from Luli. Emperor Mo and the others were frustrated. Was Luli going to leave this place alone? Even though the higher-ups of the Lu Alliance had left, there were still many disciples of the Lu Alliance here, 100,000 in total. Luli could not stand by and watch the disciples of the Lu Alliance being killed. As far as they were concerned, Luli was not dead, nor was he trapped. Otherwise, why would these consummate realm warriors capture Lu Li's people? Consummate realm warriors were proud. If they could, they wouldn't do something so shameful. If this was known to the immortal region, they would never be able to hold their heads up high, and they would be laughed at for the rest of their lives. Since Luli was not dead and he was not trapped, where is Luli? Had he gone to the immortal region to ask for reinforcements? It had been a long time. He should have come back by now, even if he had gone to the immortal region. They could go to the eastern region directly from here. What should we do if the exit is broken? A warrior asked. His words made the other warriors' hearts heavy. There were 8 consummate realm warriors out there. If he chose to fight, he would be courting death. Surrender? They will be betraying Lu Li in their own hearts. If they chose to fight, not only would they die, but their families would as well. Some of them had been sent out, but there were still many of them here. Let's wait and see. Emperor Yu sighed and said, if we can't do it, then let's bow our heads. As long as we don't have to do anything against our conscience, what's wrong with bowing our heads? If you force me to deal with Lu Li, then I choose death. Okay. Emperor Mo just said a word lightly and didn't say anything else. They were on good terms with Lu Li. It would be fine if they had to bow their heads. It was not shameful to bow their heads to a consummate realm warrior. But if they had to do something against their conscience like Emperor Li did, they would rather die. The ancestral land was large, but the population was small. Altogether, there were only 3 or 4 million. Inevitably, what happened outside spread out. The ancestral land was in a state of panic. The young disciples of the Lu Alliance were even more panicked. Lu Li's family had left. The only leader left in the city was the crippled Zen master. None of the higher-ups of the Lu family were to be found. There was only one entrance to the ancestral land. There was nowhere to run. They had to wait for their doom in the city. Many disciples of the Lu Alliance prayed day and night, but to Lu Li. To them, Lu Li was an omnipotent god. Now that they were facing a disaster, they could only pray to their god to save them. Their god could not save them. Boom! 11 days later, the formation at the entrance was blasted open. 10 people came in one after another. Emperor Mo and the other 4 did not run. They stood in a line outside the entrance, along with a group of patriarchs. They all turned to Emperor Li and Emperor Yu. Seeing that they were following them, the 5 looked at Emperor Li and Emperor Yu with derision and disdain. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were embarrassed to see how others were looking at them. Emperor Li thought about it and said, "Guys, they are only here to target Lu Li's family, not you. Please cooperate. The lords will not make things difficult for you." Emperor Mo laughed coldly. He said, "Lu Li's family has run away. It is pointless for you to come here." Run away? Jin Yin dashed over and appeared in front of Emperor Mo. He grabbed Emperor Mo's neck and lifted him up. Jin Yin said furiously, "Where have they gone? Speak." "I sent them away on my own." Emperor Mo said expressionlessly, "I'm the only one who knows where they've gone, so you'll never know where they've gone. Do you think I am spineless like Emperor Li and Emperor Yu? You want me to betray you? In your dreams." Courting death. Jin Yin was enraged, but he did not kill Emperor Mo. The next second, Jin Yan's pupils contracted in fear. He sensed that Emperor Mo's energy was burning, and so was Jin Yan's soul. Jin Yan, who had been through hundreds of battles, knew what was going on. His hand flashed and turned into a slap, sending Emperor Mo flying. "Ask Lu Li to avenge me." "Ha ha ha." Emperor Mo laughed out loud. Then his body suddenly exploded. His soul exploded as well. Blood and flesh flew around. A huge black hole appeared in space. Chapter 37:10. As a matter of fact, Emperor Mo had been prepared for a long time. He was the only one who knew where the secret realm was, and he was the one who sent Lu Ling and the others out. Therefore, once he fell into the hands of the enemies, they would torture him. If they could not get anything out of him, they would search his soul. After learning that Emperor Li and Emperor Yu had lured several absolute completion realm warriors to their ancestral land, Emperor Mo knew he couldn't live. Of course, he could choose to betray Lu Li's family. That way, he might survive, but he didn't want to. There were many of his family here. If he died, his family might not survive. But he still chose to die to protect Lu Li's family. His character wouldn't allow him to betray Lu Li. He believed that Lu Li would avenge him and take care of the Mo family as long as he was alive. Most of the Mo family were here, but he sent away a small number of elite disciples. With them here, as long as Lu Li could win, the Mo family would have a chance to rise again. On one side were so many absolute completion realm warriors, a super force of the immortal region. On the other side was a Saint King at the early stage. But Emperor Mo had a feeling that Lu Li could win this battle. Lu Li could subdue the immortal region and these absolute completion realm warriors, just like how he subdued the Gue race and the Rhino Ape race. When Lu Li joined the Grim Reaper, he was nothing. He only became a trump card because he had some special means. Later, Lu Li rose like a comet, impressing them again and again. In the end, they could only look up to him. As far as Emperor Mo was concerned, Lu Li himself was a miracle. As long as he didn't die, he could continue to create miracles. Maybe one day, Lu Li could stand at the top and become the realm king of the immortal region. By then, his sacrifice would be worth it. Lu Li was a person who valued relationships. Mo Chantian and Lu Li were close. As long as Lu Li could rise, the Mo family wouldn't suffer. Emperor Yu and the others narrowed their eyes. Then, sorrow appeared on their faces. They didn't react. They didn't want to avenge Emperor Mo compared to the absolute completion realm warriors. They were like children and adults. They weren't even on the same level. Going up would only bring humiliation to themselves. They couldn't even injure the absolute completion realm warriors, let alone drag them down with them. Jin Yin stepped down. Bei Lun coldly reprimanded, his complexion somewhat unsightly. With a wave of his hand, he said to the other great perfection deities, "Take them down." Xiao. The paragons took action and captured the Feather Emperor and the other three, using special methods to seal their origin power and souls to prevent them from self-detonating. Those elders were all sealed, all of them captured. Soul search. Bei Lun pointed at an elder. Gang Yu placed his hand on the elder's head, and the elder's eyes quickly dimmed. An hour passed. Gang Yu said, "It is true that Lu Li's people have left, but Lu Li has formed an alliance called the Lu Alliance. The disciples of the Lu Alliance are here, more than 100,000. These were all brought over from Lu Li's hometown and were his most loyal subordinates. Some of these clansmen have been sent out, but most of them are still inside." Okay, Bei Lun nodded slightly and said, "Let's set off. Gather all the martial artists here in one city and control them. If anyone resists, kill without mercy." "No," the sealed Feather Emperor said. "Let some patriarchs go. Tell them it is my order. Gather at the ancestral city and do not do anything rash." "Good." Bei Lun nodded and said, "We are only here for Lu Li's people. Now that they have run away, I will have to trouble your people for now. As long as you cooperate with us, we will not bother to kill some low-level warriors." Bei Lun released the seals on the patriarchs. The patriarchs looked at the paragons and flew away helplessly. Pointing to Jin Yin, Bei Lun said, "You stay here and guard the entrance. Without my order, no warrior can go out. Otherwise, kill without mercy." "Me guard?" Jin Yin looked at Bei Lun, feeling wronged. He was so powerful, and he was asked to guard the door. To let a paragons at the paragon's realm guard the door? Of course, Jin Yin felt wronged. Bei Lun snorted and said, "If something goes wrong, I will cut off the heads of your entire race. Guard it well." With that said, Bei Lun flew away with a group of warriors. Even though Emperor Mo was begging for death, Bei Lun vented his anger on Jin Yin. Jin Yin was too impulsive. It was better for him to stay here and guard the door. The group of powerful warriors flew to the largest city here. The city was in a mess, but they behaved themselves when they saw the arrival of several absolute realm warriors. How could they do that? Their leaders were captured. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were here as well. If they dared to act rashly, they would face death. More than a dozen days later, all the warriors in the nearby cities were mobilized. In total, there were 3 million warriors. Bei Lun sent 2 absolute realm warriors to patrol and made sure that there were no warriors in the other cities. They also checked the surroundings to make sure that there were no hidden warriors. The ancestral city was large. It could easily accommodate 3 million warriors. But the 3 million warriors were driven to the plaza and squeezed together. They looked like a flock of ducks. In the eyes of all the warriors were fear, confusion, and bewilderment. The warriors here included the families of Emperor Li and Emperor Yu. Record a memory crystal. Bei Lun ordered. Gang Yu took out a memory crystal and began to record. He even circled around the city to record everything. Bei Lun waved his hand and said, "Build a formation to trap the city. Send the families of Emperor Li and Emperor Yu out of our ancestral land." Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were overjoyed. So were their families. Soon, the 2 families' warriors flew out. Gang Yu built a divine pattern formation to seal off the city. Bei Lun, on the other hand, went to the side to set up a communication altar. He wanted to report the situation here to Bei Xian, so that Bei Xian could threaten Lu Li. On the other hand, Bei Lun asked Tong Sun to interrogate Emperor Yu and the others to see if he could find out the whereabouts of Lu Li's family. If not, then there was nothing else he could do. Emperor Yu and the others could not be killed. They were important to Lu Li as well, and they could be used to threaten Lu Li. Balin learned that the disciples of the Lu Alliance were Lu Li's students and his most loyal subordinates. Lu Li's family and friends had run away, but the disciples of the Lu Alliance were still here. If Lu Li learned about the situation here, he would not sit by and do nothing. For Lu Li, the disciples of the Lu Alliance must be as important as his family and friends. Good. Bei Xian received Bei Luan's message. Though he was a bit disappointed, he was satisfied. With the disciples of the Lu Alliance, Bei Xian believed that it was possible to lure Lu Li out. As long as Lu Li used his almighty artifact, he would be able to find out what was going on at the ancestral land. By then, Lu Li would come to negotiate with Bei Xian. Keep trying to find Lu Li's family and friends. Bei Xian said, also, capture all the disciples of the God of Death and the higher-ups of the God of Death and bring them to the ancestral land. If Lu Li does not come out, I will kill them every day until all the warriors of the God of Death are dead. Chapter 37:11. During the 5 months, with the cooperation of Emperor Li and Emperor Yu and the cooperation of many patriarchs of their faction, groups of people of the God of Death were teleported to the ancestral land and brought into the ancestral land. Those brought into the ancestral land were not average warriors, but core disciples of the God of Death. If average warriors were brought in as well, the ancestral land would not be able to accommodate all of them. The God of Death had millions of core warriors at the beginning. Later on, the God of Death grew, and now there were over 100 million of them. Those were the loyal warriors of the God of Death, the foundation of the organization. Now more than half of the warriors had entered the ancestral land, and they were all outside the city. On the plain outside the city, a super formation was built. The tens of millions of warriors were gathered here, squatting on the ground. Anyone who dared to move would be killed. This was tantamount to Emperor Li and Emperor Yu tricking them, because these martial artists had come in under their orders, and now they had become hostages. In addition to them, many great patriarchs were lured in as well. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu knew that what they were doing would destroy the foundation of the God of Death, their reputation, and the foundation they had been building over the years. But what could they do? If they disobeyed, they would die. Bei Luan promised them that he would not hurt their families. Bei Luan did not hurt them and set them free. Their families could not be harmed, but the other members of the God of Death were different. If they did not cooperate, then the previous agreement would be nullified and they would die miserably. During this time, the God of Death and the God of Death had suffered a lot of abuse. Emperor Mo's family members were the worst of all. Word of Emperor Mo's tragic death had spread. Emperor Mo's family members knew that they could not survive. Naturally, they would lash out and vent their anger. Emperor of Feather and the others were tortured, but no amount of interrogation worked. Emperor of Feather and the others did not know where Lu Ling and the others had gone. Soul searching was useless. Balin didn't kill them because Emperor of Feather and the others had a good relationship with Lu Li. They were good hostages. Jin Yin was sent out with a warrior at the Absolute Realm. They were going to search for the 2 powerful warriors, Emperor of Wings and Emperor of Dragon. Those 2 had slipped through the net. It would be great if they could be captured. Emperor of Wings was Lu Li's guide. It was almost done. It would be hard to find Lu Li's family members. The 100,000 disciples of the Lu Alliance and the tens of millions of Grim Reaper warriors should be enough. If Lu Li had used his over-god weapon to find out, then he definitely wouldn't just sit back and watch. He was stuck in the ice harem, so he could only negotiate. When the time came, Bei Xian would definitely handle it. Bei Luan couldn't do anything about it. Bei Luan didn't continue to capture people. He had already captured so many people. If he couldn't threaten Lu Li, then there was no point in capturing more. Now, all he had to do was wait for Lu Li to use the master artifact to investigate. What is Lu Li doing? Bei Luan was a little confused. Normally, Lu Li would check every once in a while. Wasn't Lu Li worried about his family? Did something happen to Lu Li in the Ice Queen Palace? If Lu Li didn't want to investigate, then there was nothing he could do. He had to hang the heads of several patriarchs on the city wall of the Tianyu city. Once Lu Li started to investigate, he would definitely go to the Heavens Crossing city. Lu Li would know something was wrong if there were some heads hanging on the city wall. He would investigate and eventually find out what was going on in the ancestral land. Lu Li was in trouble. He was still in the ice world inside the statue of Ice Queen. He was still curled up and moving forward step by step. Clearly, his mind was not clear anymore. He was being guided or controlled by some mysterious force. He was as cold as ice. His blood had stopped flowing and he had stopped breathing. Yet, he was still moving forward. In the depth of his soul, there was a thought telling him that he would die if he went on like this. His body would be destroyed, and he would become a frozen corpse, forever staying in the ice world. However, this thought was weak. It could not control his soul. There was a strong obsession in his soul that was driving him forward. He didn't know what was ahead of him. All he knew was to move on and find an exit. As for why, he didn't think too much about it. Lu Li's source energy had been frozen. He had to rely on his physical strength to move forward. His eyes were blurred and his hair was disheveled. He looked like a beggar. His eyebrows and beard were frozen. He was in a sorry state. Plop! All of a sudden, Lu Li staggered and fell to the ground. He even rolled over. He struggled to his feet and moved on. But this time, his speed was even slower, and his hands and feet were even stiffer. Plop! Another 1,000 miles later, Lu Li fell to the ground again. This time, he struggled for many times before he could get up. He felt his body was weak. At this rate, he would lose all feeling and he wouldn't even be able to move. His soul was still in a muddle. His consciousness was blurred and his mental state was at its worst. He moved on. This time, he fell to the ground again after more than 30 miles. Plop, plop, plop. Along the way, Lu Li kept falling to the ground. After dozens of times, he fell to the ground again. This time, he couldn't get up. He kept struggling, trying to get up. Unfortunately, his limbs were too stiff. He couldn't get up no matter how many times he tried. After several hours of struggle, Lu Li stopped. He curled up on the ground. His teeth were chattering, making a crack, crack, crack sound. His limbs were trembling as well. His face was awful. He was as pale as a dead man. He opened his eyes, but there was nothing but mist in them. He seemed to be in a delirious state. His lips were moving, but no one could tell what he was saying. The cold wind was howling, and the snow was everywhere. Soon, Lu Li was covered by the snow and became a snowman. He couldn't move at all. He could feel his life force was fading away. He knew very well that if he continued like this, his life force would disappear in a few months, and he would die completely. At this critical moment, his consciousness gradually came back to him. However, his awakening was a little slow. After more than 20 days, his consciousness was completely awakened. But he noticed that his physical body was seriously injured. His soul seemed to have separated from his physical body. His soul could no longer control his physical body. Is this the final radiance of the setting sun? An idea came to Lu Li's mind. He began to panic. Why did something like this happen when they entered this strange ice field world? Was he going to die for no reason? He recalled the original situation, and many questions appeared in his mind. Why did he keep moving forward without rhyme or reason? What kind of secret was hidden in it? What should I do? Lu Li thought quickly. He couldn't move his physical body, and he couldn't mobilize his source of energy, let alone consume the elixir. If he didn't figure out a way, he would die here. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 3712. The situation here reminded Lu Li of the den of ice many years ago. It was the same there. He couldn't move, but his mind was clear. He was trapped in the den of ice for many years, and he even brought Tian Yazi out. The situation now was much worse than before. This place was too creepy. He was affected unconsciously when he came in. He only woke up now. When he woke up, he realized his body was so weak that he could not move. How could he save himself? When his body was ruined, his soul would disperse as well. He could let his soul fly out now. The question was, what could he do? This was the world of ice. There was nothing. His soul was like a wandering ghost. It would float around for a while before it dissipated. Lu Li checked and thought for a long time. There was no way out. It seemed that he had to wait for his body to die and then his soul to disperse. He could not move his body, his interspatial artifact, or enter the realm of Dharma. The only thing he could use was psychic power. What was the point of using psychic power? Apart from checking around, there was no other purpose. What does Ice Empress mean? She sucked me in so that I would die with her? Lu Li could not figure it out. Theoretically speaking, he had gotten Ice Empress Divine Artifact and activated the statue to come here. This was clearly one of Ice Empress' arrangements. He could withstand the cold air and activate the Divine Artifact. He must have met some requirements of Ice Empress. In other words, the fact that he could come here meant that Ice Empress had given him initial approval. Ice Empress did not want Lu Li to die with her. Otherwise, the statue could have just released some moves and Lu Li would have been smashed. Why go through so much trouble? There must be a reason. Lu Li was cheered up. Ice Empress must have a reason. There must be a way out. It was just that he had not found it yet. The desire to survive cheered Lu Li up. He put aside all distracting thoughts and focused on sensing the surroundings. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, another 3 months had passed. Lu Li still did not use the Divine Artifact. Bei Xian was getting impatient. He ordered Bei Luan to take action. Every month, he would kill a group of people. When the Grim Reaper couldn't take it anymore, he would see if Lu Li's family would come out and if warriors related to Lu Li would ask for help. Bei Luan immediately carried out the order. He captured tens of millions of warriors and killed them as he pleased. He then instructed Emperor Li, "Go and gather 1,000,000 warriors, 3 supreme elders, and 10 elders." Emperor Li blinked his eyes embarrassedly and asked, "Lord Bei, why did you summon these people?" "Bullshit." Bei Luan's face sank as he said, "I've asked you to mobilize them, so do it immediately." Emperor Li had a bad feeling, but he didn't dare to disobey the order. He went outside the ancestral city and picked 3 grand elders and 10 elders. Unsurprisingly, the 13 powerful warriors were all on Lu Li's side. After that, he mobilized 1,000,000 soldiers. Gang Yu activated the barrier of divine inscriptions and waited for the 1,000,000 soldiers and the 13 experts to exit before he closed it again. Suppress. Bei Luan was covered in a black robe. Average warriors could not see his face. Bei Luan said, "Tong Sun mobilized forces in heaven and earth to contain the 1,000,000 soldiers and the 13 powerful warriors." Bei Luan said to Emperor Li and Emperor Yu, "Do it. Kill those warriors and cut off their heads. If Lu Li does not come out for a month, I will kill 1,000,000 every month until they are all gone." What? Emperor Li and Emperor Yu looked at each other. Their faces were clouded. Those warriors were not average warriors. They were the backbone of the Grim Reaper, the foundation of the Grim Reaper. If the tens of millions of warriors and the patriarchs and great patriarchs were killed, what would the Grim Reaper have? "Lord," Emperor Li begged at once, "Lord, those warriors have nothing to do with Lu Li. They are the foundation of the Grim Reaper. Please let them go." "If you don't kill them," Bei Luan said coldly, "then you will not cooperate with us. Since you are not cooperating, then don't blame us for not keeping our promise." Bei Luan's meaning was clear. If Emperor Li and Emperor Yu would not kill them, then they would kill the warriors of the Li family in the Yu universe. Some of them would die anyway. Do as you see fit. Bastard Li, bastard Yu. On the city wall of the ancestral city, Emperor Yu and the others were tortured beyond recognition. Now, they were nailed to the city wall. It was a miserable sight. Seeing what was happening outside the city, Emperor Yu screamed, "You bastards! You are the accomplices of a villain. If you dare to do anything to your own people, we will haunt you even as ghosts." Another warrior yelled, "You bastards! You have destroyed the foundation of the Grim Reaper. What can you do if you can survive? The Grim Reaper has offended so many forces. Can you stand it? If Lu Li comes back, can your 2 races survive?" The few big shots started cursing, and countless martial artists inside and outside the city followed suit. Even though the shield was activated, their voices could still be heard. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were even more upset. Balawan, on the other hand, remained calm. He stared at them coldly, waiting for their decision. After a moment of silence, Emperor Li and Emperor Yu made up their minds, took out their weapons, and dashed forward. Tongsun worked with them. Everywhere they went, the force in heaven and earth disappeared. They wielded their relic weapons, killing one warrior at a time. Heads flew up one after another. 1,000,000 warriors were slaughtered for several hours, and those supreme elders were suppressed and killed. More than 1,000,000 warriors, more than 1,000,000 heads, and more than 1,000,000 headless bodies. Many bodies were still spitting out blood. It was a tragic scene. Many warriors looked at Emperor Li and Emperor Yu with hatred. Any force would hate traitors the most, especially when Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were once two of their leaders. Bring the heads to the Tianyuan city. Put them on the city wall. Balawan waved his hand, telling the patriarchs working for Emperor Li to do it. The patriarchs looked at each other. Would they be assassinated by Emperor of Wings if they brought the heads out like this? There were still some great patriarchs hiding outside. But what else could they do under such circumstances? They had to go all the way. The more than a dozen patriarchs flew down, put the heads into their interspatial rings, and left. Emperor Li threw a look at the headless bodies. He could not help but ask, "Lord, do you want us to deal with the bodies?" "No." Balawan waved his hand. "Just leave them like this." Later, when Luli uses the almighty artifact, he can see that these people died because of him. Sure, Emperor Li came back to his senses. He flew to the sky above the city and said with grief and indignation, "Don't blame us. We had no other choice. Blame Luli. He is the cause of all this. If you don't want to die, and if you can contact him, please do so as soon as possible. Otherwise, we will all die here." PFF, the response that the Feather Emperor and the others gave was not limited to the giants. Countless cultivators in the city spat and gave the most direct response. Chapter 37:13. The huge change in Skyleap City had long since attracted the attention of the rulers of the chaotic starfield. The rulers pretended not to know and didn't care. Luli's fight with the Immortal Region's great clans wasn't something they could do even if they wanted to. They were still living in fear, afraid that the Immortal Region's powerhouses would cause trouble for them. With so many Grim Reaper warriors captured and so many elders' corpses hanging in Skyleap City, the rulers naturally knew that something big had happened to the Grim Reaper. Luli and the other leaders didn't show themselves. The Grim Reaper had obviously been captured, and those heads were displayed on the city walls as a show of force to lure Luli out. Although the rulers didn't dare to make a move, they sent many scouts to Skyleap City. The rulers were all trembling with fear, afraid that the Immortal Region's powerhouses would cause trouble for them. On this very day, the Grim Reaper's dozen or so elders had returned. Then they did something that gave the scouts of the various sovereigns a huge fright. When these elders arrived at Skyleap City, they didn't do anything other than take out human heads from their interspatial rings and place them on the city walls. Skyleap City was very large, and the city walls were very tall. After the elders placed the heads on top of the city walls, they actually circled around the city walls. For such a large city, there had to be at least a few 100,000 heads, right? Some people secretly counted and found that there were more than 1,000,000 heads. Moreover, there were actually a few grand elders and many elders among those heads. The Grim Reaper's higher-ups really have been controlled. When the rulers received the news, they all came to the same conclusion. If the Grim Reaper's higher-ups hadn't been controlled, then how could these elders have done such a thing? The Grim Reaper's higher-ups and soldiers have been killed, but instead of burying their heads, they were placed on the city walls? This was desecration of the dead. Under normal circumstances, how could these Grim Reaper elders have done such a thing? Some of the Grim Reaper's powerhouses had been controlled, and the Immortal Region's powerhouses were luring Luli out. The rulers' higher-ups came to this conclusion. This conclusion made the rulers even more terrified. They all began to arrange for some elite warriors to be scattered and hidden. This way, if something happened, they wouldn't be completely wiped out. The chaotic starfield was at its weakest right now, with the least number of perfection realms. Of course, even the other powerful star regions couldn't contend against the major powers of the immortal region. Some sovereigns secretly sent envoys to the southern and eastern realms, reporting the situation here to the southern and eastern realms kings, hoping that they would act to suppress the situation. After all, the 9 great realm kings of the immortal realms had an agreement. When Feng Yi received the messages from the various sovereigns, he laughed coldly. He hadn't done anything. He knew very well which family the experts were from. It was the king of the northern region. What was more, Beiluan didn't show up in public. It was Jin Yin, Gang Yu, and the others who showed up. All of them held grudges against Lu Li, and this was a personal vendetta. They were only targeting the Grim Reaper, which didn't violate the agreement made by the 9 lords. The Grim Reaper won't be able to escape this time. Lu Li probably won't be able to escape his fate either. Feng Yi murmured, and her expression relaxed slightly. If Lu Li didn't die, he would come after him. By then, even if Lu Li didn't wipe out the Feng family, he would have to pay for it with his life. Therefore, he still prayed that Lu Li would die and that Beiluan would win. Report, a month later, a message came. Another 1 million heads were placed on the city wall of the Tianyu city. Those were average warriors, several great patriarchs, and 10 patriarchs. This time, the number was the same as last time. It was a clear message to Lu Li. If he didn't show up, the Grim Reaper would kill 1 million warriors, several great patriarchs, and 10 patriarchs in a month. There were probably more than 100 million warriors that belonged to the Grim Reaper. At this rate, in less than 2 or 3 years, all the warriors of the Grim Reaper would be killed. What was more, Beiluan and the other patriarchs would be annoyed as well. They might have to kill millions at once. Maybe in less than a year, all the warriors of the Grim Reaper would be wiped out. What would be the point of Lu Li coming back when all the warriors of the Grim Reaper were dead? By then, Lu Li's family and relatives would all be dead as well. What is Lu Li doing? Feng Yi was not the only one thinking about this. All the leaders of the sovereigns were thinking about this as well. How come Lu Li didn't show up at this point? Lu Li wouldn't do that, considering his character. How many stupid things did Lu Li do when he was impulsive? How many times had he risked his life? How come he was so timid now? Lu Li, come back soon. Many powerful warriors were praying for Lu Li to come back. Whether Lu Li won or the Celestial Region won, they would be fine. If this went on, they were afraid that the powerful warriors of the Celestial Region would attack them. By then, no one would be able to fight back. Lu Li couldn't come back. Lu Li was still in that world of ice. He still couldn't move his body. He spread out his psychic power to check his surroundings. He had been doing this for several months, but he didn't find anything out of the ordinary. He guessed that there must be a reason why the Ice Empress sent him here. Unfortunately, he couldn't figure out the reason why the Ice Empress sent him here. He felt that his body was about to be destroyed. In 2 or 3 months at most, his body would be completely destroyed, just like Jin Yin and the others. What is the Ice Empress' intention? Lu Li was confused. He used his psychic power to scan the surroundings. All he could see was snow and wind. Apart from that, there was nothing else. This was a normal scene. There was nothing special about it. Why can't I enter the Dharma realm? Lu Li wondered. Usually, he could go in under any circumstances, unless the space was extremely unstable. The space here was so stable. Why couldn't he go in? If he could enter the Dharma realm, his body could be healed quickly. His wounds could be healed quickly. He could then come out and explore more carefully. In this way, he wouldn't be in any danger. The Dharma realm was inside him. The elixir was the connection between him and the Dharma realm. Usually, he could enter the Dharma realm with just one thought. He didn't need to use the Dharma realm. Why couldn't he do it this time? Is it because of this world? Lu Li was hesitating. This world had a horrifying cold air. The cold air outside came from here. This world must be special. It must be a strange world. Can it be? Lu Li suddenly thought of a possibility. Was this the Dharma realm of the Ice Empress? If the Ice Empress could be called the Ice Empress, then she must have reached the peak in the law of ice. If this was the Dharma realm of an overgod, then it would make sense. How powerful was the Dharma realm of an overgod? The space here should be isolated from the outside. The barrier of an overgod's Dharma realm was strong. It was not surprising that the Dharma realm of an overgod could not be connected. The Dharma realm of the Ice Empress, the source of ice and snow. Is there an origin of ice and snow here? Luli suddenly understood. If this was the Dharma realm of the Ice Empress or the source of the world of ice and snow, then Ice Empress' intention was clear. His Dharma realm could absorb the cold air, and he could use the overgod weapon left by the Ice Empress. He could enter this world. What did it mean? It meant that the Ice Empress wanted him to receive her real legacy. What was the real legacy of the Ice Empress? Luli was not sure, but it must have something to do with the origin of ice and snow, the ultimate profound meaning of ice and snow. If he could receive the legacy of ice and snow, then the crisis in this world would be resolved without him having to do anything. His abilities would be enhanced, and he would be reborn. Remember the mobile version. Chapter 37:14. With a general direction in mind, Luli began to feel with his heart. There was nothing he could do now except to learn the origin of ice and snow, the ultimate profound meaning of ice and snow, and the truth of this world. The nature of ice and snow. Luli remembered the law of ice and snow he learned in this world. It seemed that he could continue. In this world, the law of ice and snow was clearer, and it would be easier to learn. Never mind. Let me try first. Luli made up his mind. He didn't care if his body would be destroyed. If he couldn't solve the problem, he would have to die. He had to cut off all means of retreat and put himself in a hopeless situation. He began to meditate and began to learn the law of ice and snow that was everywhere in this world. Just as he had expected, as soon as he began to meditate, he found that the law of ice and snow was everywhere in this world, and it was clear. He felt he had seen it before. It was just like his realm of magic. The laws in his realm of magic were clear as well, as if he could reach out and touch them. The law of ice and snow here was so obvious that he could sense it at any time. Well, let me master the law of ice and snow first. Luli stopped thinking and seized the time to study. Something amazing happened. While Luli was studying the law of ice and snow, the ice and snow on him began to melt. The wind and snow around him would melt as well. Phew, phew, the cold wind was howling and the ice and snow were everywhere. While Luli was studying the law of ice and snow, the wind and snow here grew stronger and the law of ice and snow was clearer. It was easier for Luli to sense the law as well. It was like he was in an epiphany and he was making rapid progress. He was in a state of silence now. He didn't care about anything else. He had to master the law of ice and snow first. East King City, Sacred Region. The master of the Eastern Region stood on the balcony with Lord Yun behind him. The master of the Eastern Region stood there for a long time without saying anything. Lord Yun had to stay with him. After another 2 hours, the master of the Eastern Region finally spoke. Are Bei Xian and Kuan Mo still there? Yes, Lord Yun answered with caution. Kuan Mo has not come out from the Ice Queen Palace. He is probably working on the runes in the Ice Queen Palace. Bei Xian, on the other hand, is living in a small city outside. In addition, Bei Luan and the others had gone to the heavenly chaotic starfield and captured many warriors of the Grim Reaper. Many leaders of the Grim Reaper had also been captured. Currently, the number of heads displayed in Tianyue City has already reached 3 million. 1 million will be killed in a month. What a disgrace. The king of the Eastern Region snorted and said, the dignified king of the Northern Region actually did such a thing. Even the ancestors of the Bei family were shamed because of him. Spread the news and ruin Bei Xian's reputation first. Yes. Lord Yun nodded and said, I'll arrange it later. I won't let anyone know that it was us who spread the news. It doesn't matter even if you know. The king of the Eastern Region snorted and said, I don't care if anything happens to Luli this time. Before I die, I will definitely go to the North King City. There aren't many powerful warriors in this world that dare to slap me in the face. If they do, they will pay the price. Lord Yin was also filled with killing intent. This time, Bei Xian targeting Lu Li was like a slap to the face of Lord of the Eastern region and Lord Yin. Lord Yin had no choice but to ask Kuan Mo for help. But Kuan Mo would only help him once and not forever. When the king of the Eastern region was about to die, Lord Yin could ask Kuan Mo for help, but the latter wouldn't come easily. Also, even if Kuan Mo were to help, the king of the Eastern region would have nothing to worry about. Lu Li is not dead yet, is he? The king of the Eastern region asked again. Lord Yin nodded with certainty and said, yes, he is not dead yet. He must have gone into the ice harem and used the runes there to stop Kuan Mo and Bei Xian. Let's hope he is blessed by heaven. Where is Little White? The king of the Eastern region turned around and asked, how is the little bastard's cultivation going? I just want to have a look. Lord Yin reported, he is still in closed-door cultivation in the secret realm and hasn't come out yet. Little White is doing well this time. After so many years of closed-door cultivation, he has been cultivating diligently. He is very sensible. Yes, the king of the Eastern region showed affection in his eyes. He had always been like this, cold on the outside, but warm on the inside. He didn't seem to care about Little White, but he actually cared about it and treasured it. Otherwise, why would he go to the Origin Realm? He even killed a master of the Origin Realm. This was to avenge Little White, and at the same time to deter others. The king of the Eastern region waved his hand, and Lord Yin left to make arrangements. In just half a month, what Bei Xian had done was spread out. So was the news that Bei Luan went to the Chaotic Star region to kill average warriors. When the news spread out, the Celestial region became lively. How could the king of the Northern region do such a thing? The Bei family was also a wealthy family. Not only did they mess around in the 8 galaxies, but they also killed average warriors, or millions of them. Several days later, the king of the Southern region made an announcement, saying that they had also received the report from the Chaotic Star region. Such things did happen, and the king of the Southern region wanted an explanation from the king of the Northern region. After the king of the Southern region made the announcement, the other kings followed suit, demanding an explanation from the king of the Northern region. This was a violation of the agreement between the 9 kings. The Bei family sent an urgent message to Bei Xian, but the latter didn't take it seriously and asked the Bei family to make another announcement. He said that what happened in the Chaotic Star region had nothing to do with him. It was Jin Yin and Gang Yutong who ordered Deling to seek revenge against Lu Li. The Bei family didn't participate and wouldn't interfere. Everyone in the Celestial region knew that Jin Yin and Lu Li were enemies. Gang Yutong and Deling were chased out of the Chaotic Star region years ago. It was understandable that they joined forces to seek revenge against Lu Li. Bei Xian wouldn't admit it, so it wasn't a violation of the agreement. Bei Xian made it clear that he wouldn't interfere. He meant that if the other kings had objections, they could kill Jin Yin, and Deling Bei Xian wouldn't feel bad about it anyway. The king of the Eastern region didn't want to use this to make things difficult for the king of the Northern region. Even if he captured Bei Luan, the Northern region wouldn't have anything to do with him. He could make an announcement to the tribe saying that Bei Luan had been chased out of the tribe. Would the other kings go to war with the king of the Northern region because of this? The king of the Eastern region didn't care. He couldn't do anything even if he wanted to. He still had thousands of years to live and wanted to protect Little White for a few more years. He didn't want to risk his life now. Rustle. 1.5 months later, Lord Yin suddenly rushed to the stage and said, "Family patriarch, Little White is missing." What? The king of the Eastern region's eyes suddenly turned cold. He said in a deep voice, "Isn't old Ba guarding the entrance of the secret territory? Is he dead? He can't even guard the entrance?" Old Ba was sent away. Lord Yin said bitterly. Qi Shishir came and sent old Ba away for a while. Then Qi Shishir went in and came out not long after. After that, old Ba went in to take a look from afar. He didn't pay much attention to Little White. When he went back 10 days later, Little White was gone. 10 days ago, Little White must have created an illusion and deceived old Ba. Bastard, the king of the Eastern region said angrily, "Take a few full perfection realm warriors and set off immediately." Little White must have gone to the Chaotic Star region. Go and bring this bastard back. The stupid lady of the Qi family wants to marry Little White with such low EQ? Third sect leader. Chapter 37:15. It was Qi Shishir who took Little White away. Qi Shishir cared about Little White, not because of its identity. The king of the eastern region was about to die, and it was uncertain if Little White could reach the ultimate realm. Staying with Little White might not end well. Qi Shishir really liked Little White. Usually, all the young masters were polite to her, and they were trying to please her both openly and in secret. As a young lady, she didn't like this kind of behavior. Little White didn't pay attention to her, which aroused her competitiveness. Gradually, she found many good points about Little White. Little by little, she became addicted to Little White and fell in love with it. Since she liked Little White, she would do everything possible to pay attention to Little White. Over the years, Little White had been in closed-door cultivation, so Qi Shishir could only pay attention to Lu Li. She knew very well how important Lu Li was to Little White. Little White was like a father and a brother. As long as Qi Shishir could help Lu Li, Little White would like her. Qi Shishir had been paying close attention to what was happening at the Chaotic Star region. Her family had spies in the Chaotic Star region, so she was informed soon. Qi Shishir didn't think too much. Seeing that Lu Li was in danger, especially his family, she secretly teleported to the eastern region and went to the place where Little White was cultivating. She knew Little White was being watched. If the king of the eastern region knew, he would not let Little White go to the Chaotic Star region. If Little White didn't go to the Chaotic Star region, then she and Little White would have no chance to be alone or fight side by side. Therefore, she skillfully tricked Ba, who was guarding the place, and went to find Little White. At the end of the day, Qi Shishir and Little White were the same. They were both spoiled and bold. As far as she was concerned, if she and Little White were to make a move, who would dare to kill them? She was a naive girl. It was not that she wasn't smart. It was just that she had too little experience and didn't know the dangers of the world. What was Little White's temper? As soon as he heard that Lu Li was in trouble, he left without a second thought. He was smart enough to know that once he was discovered, he would be taken back by the king of the eastern region. Therefore, he made some arrangements and secretly teleported away with Qi Shishir. They forced their way out of the immortal region and flew to the Chaotic Star region as fast as they could. Qi Shishir didn't bring too many guards with him. He only brought 3 experts who were infinitely close to the Great Perfection Realm. However, there was one Great Perfection Realm accompanying him. That full-circle cultivator did not care about Qi Shishir's matter and only protected her along the way. As for Little Bai, he did not bring anyone along. Qi Shishir and Little White had no idea what was going on in the Chaotic Star area, nor did they know that Kuanimo and Bei Xian were targeting Lu Li. Kuanimo was someone that not even the king of the East dared to provoke. They had flown 10 days in advance. Lord Yin had brought along 10 full perfection deities. Even if he wanted to catch up, he would not be able to catch up with them in a short period of time. Qi Shishir had a top-notch warship, which was very fast. The situation in the chaotic star field was still very tragic. Every month, Beiluan would kill 1 million warriors. After 5 months, the walls of the Sky Bridge City were filled with human heads. He had already killed 5 million soldiers. Now, there were basically no cultivators living in Sky Moon City. Instead, the ones living here were the scouts of the major factions and some of the older generation of the Grim Reaper who wished to live and die with Sky Moon City. The entire city was filled with a strong smell of blood. Many of the heads on the city wall had their eyes wide open, emitting the stench of corpses. Luckily, there were some warriors here. Otherwise, when the eagles flew over, those heads would have been snatched away. Some of the 5 million warriors were disciples of the Lu Alliance. Every time Emperor Li went to pick, he would pick 10,000 disciples of the Lu Alliance. Beiluan had acquiesced. Lu Li did not give any response. So, Beiluan killed a group of disciples of the Lu Alliance to see if they could contact Lu Li. Beiluan was troubled. What was Lu Li doing? Why didn't he use his almighty artifact? Could it be that Lu Li was trapped as well? If that was the case, then Lu Li would not know no matter how many he killed. What was the point of him killing like this? When all of them were killed, what could he use to threaten Lu Li? There was also Lu Li's family. Emperor of Yu had been interrogated many times. Several of Emperor Mo's immediate descendants were killed by soul-searching. Nothing was found. Emperor Li had sent out many patriarchs of the Grim Reaper to look for Lu Li, but to no avail. Of course, many of the scouts were just putting on a show. Many didn't even want to look for Lu Li. Would it be a good thing to find Lu Li's family? They would be punished. Even if Lu Li was killed, the forces loyal to Lu Li would do the same. Bei Luan was frustrated as well since nothing was happening. More than a year had passed. He had gone in to take a look at Kuan Mo's side, but there was still no movement. He had been studying the divine inscriptions. It would take him more than a decade to crack a side chamber. There must be a reason why Lu Li didn't use his almighty artifact. Either the almighty artifact could not be used where he was, or Lu Li was focused on something, like accepting the legacy of the Ice Empress. Of course, Lu Li was only at the initial stage of the Saint King. Even if he had the legacy of the Ice Empress, Bei Xian was not afraid with Kuan Mo around. What Bei Luan was afraid of was that Lu Li would cultivate for dozens of years, and Kuan Mo would not be able to find Lu Li for 30 years. When Kuan Mo left, Bei Luan would be dumbfounded. He would be torn apart by Master of the Eastern region. But what could Bei Luan do? He could only continue to wait bitterly. Recently, his mood had become restless. There were a few clan kings who wanted to see him, but they were all slapped to death by him. No more clan kings dared to disturb him. Family patriarch. In the yard where Bei Luan was staying, a perfect realm warrior walked in. Bei Luan had mobilized 5 perfect realm warriors here. He had to stay here for a while. He was afraid that Master of the Eastern region would go crazy. He had to be careful. This was a perfect realm warrior of the Bei family named Bei Yang. After Bei Yang walked in, he said with a serious expression, "I just received news that the Eastern region king's son, Lu Xiaobai, and mysterious region's little princess, Qi Shi, secretly left the Eastern region and flew towards the chaotic star field. Then, old freak Yun came with 10 perfect realm warriors. I don't think they can catch up with Lu Xiaobai. They might all go to the chaotic star region." A glint of coldness rose in Bei Xian's eyes. He said in a deep voice, "No, Bei Luan and the others are in trouble. No. In this situation, even the old sky-swallowing beast will come secretly. He loves his son so much. How can he not worry when Kuan Mo and I are here?" Bei Yang said with worry, "Let Chief Patriarch leave first? It doesn't matter if Jin Yin and the others die." "No hurry." Bei Xian paced slowly in the room. He muttered to himself and frowned. He had been pacing in the room for more than 2 hours. His eyes suddenly revealed a sliver of madness. He said in a low voice, "Change of plan. Let Bei Luan bring all the hostages here and lure Lu Xiaobai here." "Lure him here?" Bei Yang asked, a little stunned. "Once Lu Xiaobai comes, old freak Yun and the others will definitely come here. At that time, the king of the Eastern region might also come here. Family patriarch, isn't this too risky? How can we gain anything if we don't take risks?" Bei Xian grinned coldly. He said, "Secretly contact the king of the southern region and the king of the western region. Tell them that old demon Kuan and I have decided to join forces to kill the old sky-swallowing beast. Ask them if they want to take revenge. If they do, come to the Sky Universe Star region immediately. Remember the mobile website." Chapter 37:16. Kill the old sky-swallowing beast. Bei Yang was scared. This was an idea he didn't even dare to think about, especially when the king of the East was about to die. Who would want to risk their lives against him? It wasn't worth it to risk their lives against a dying supreme warrior. They might die with him. Bei Yang thought about it and asked, "Will old demon Kuan agree? Will the kings of the West and the southern region agree? This is too risky. Family patriarch, you must calm down." "I am calm," Bei Xian said firmly. "I will talk to Kuan and he will agree. Old demon Kuan and I will hold the fort. I think the kings of the South and the West will agree when they have the chance. Also, we can kill the young sky-swallowing beast. They don't want a new king of the East to dominate the world, right?" Bei Xian was throwing caution to the wind. Little White was here, so would the king of the East. Maybe the old sky-swallowing beast would try to assassinate him. Unless he went back to the northern region now, it would not be safe here. Of course, he could go into the Ice Queen Palace and hide with Kuan. More importantly, if he couldn't kill Luli this time, he would be killed by the king of the East. Old Demon Kuan would only help him this time. Luli didn't even use his divine artifact. Who knew where Luli was and what was going on? If Luli was trapped for decades, Bei Xian would be in big trouble. Since it was risky no matter what, he might as well do something big. Old Demon Kuan was about to die. Bei Xian had to think for the Kuan family and wanted him to help them. Therefore, Old Demon Kuan wouldn't cherish his life. It didn't matter if he fought with the king of the East. As long as Old Demon Kuan was willing to help, the chances of winning would be high. With the kings of the South and the West, the chances would be even higher. The kings of the South and the West were both suppressed by the king of the East. This was the shame of their lives. If they could kill the king of the East to avenge themselves, they would be happy. There was also Lu Xiaobai. It would be good for everyone if Lu Xiaobai could be killed. Bei Xian believed that Kuan and the kings of the South and the West would be happy. Besieging the king of the Eastern region seemed very risky. After all, the king of the Eastern region's innate divine ability was too terrifying. But the risk was actually not high. Kuan Mo could withstand the king of the East's innate divine power. If the realm kings worked together, the possibility of killing the king of the East was 70%. Bei Xian had already made up his mind, and Bei Yang could not persuade him otherwise. If Kuan Mo agreed to attack, the possibility of this matter greatly increased. It would naturally be a good thing if they could kill the king of the Eastern region. Bei Yang thought for a moment and asked, "Why don't we summon all the paragons from our side?" "No need." Bei Xian shook his head and said, "If we can't kill the old heaven-swallowing beast, then no matter how many consummation deities there are, it would be meaningless. Instead, it would easily alert the enemy. Let's carry out according to my plan. Hurry up. Immediately contact the king of the Western region and the king of the Southern region. It'll take some time for them to rush over. Once they confirm it, we can start making arrangements on our side. Tell Balun to execute the order immediately." "All right." Bei Yang took a deep breath and went to make arrangements. He was very nervous. Bei Xian was making a huge gamble. If they could not kill the king of the East this time, it might bring a disaster to the Bei family. Put all the warriors into a spatial artifact and take them away. In the ancestral grounds of the death god, Balun received the order and immediately executed it without any hesitation. Although there were still tens of millions of warriors here, it was easy to take them away. They just had to get a few hundred spatial artifacts and put them away. Jin Yin and the others were puzzled. Why would they take so many warriors away? Where are they going after leaving? Balun did not explain. Jin Yin and the others executed the order and took all the warriors away. Then, they quietly left the Death God's territory and flew towards the Sky Universe star field. They took the Spectre ship, and no warriors discovered them on the way. Even the warriors left behind by the Death God did not know that they had left. The Winged Monarch and the Dragon Monarch did not dare to go near the ancestral grounds, so they did not know that they had left. Half a month after they left the chaotic Sky Star field, Little White and the others came. Little White and Qi Shishir were simple-minded. They didn't care about anything and just flew toward the Heaven Crossing region. When they arrived at the Heaven Crossing region, they saw many heads on the city wall. Little White was enraged. He thought Lu Li's family was killed, and he almost lost his temper. The Winged Monarch and the Dragon Monarch had been hiding. They were overjoyed when they heard the news. They had scouts contact Little White and guide them to the ancestral grounds. Little White and Qi Shishir didn't care about anything else. They flew to the ancestral grounds directly. To their surprise, the ancestral grounds were empty except for several patriarchs of the Death God guarding the entrance. Several patriarchs of Emperor Li's subordinates were in the ancestral grounds. Little White killed several patriarchs in a fit of rage and tortured 2 patriarchs half to death. Little White learned the whereabouts of Jin Yin and the others. Balun and Jin Yin went to the Ice River Valley in the Sky Universe starfield. Since the Winged Monarch and the Dragon Monarch did not show up, Little White did not know that Lu Ling and the others were fine. Little White thought they had been taken to the Sky Universe starfield. Without hesitation, Little White took Chi Shirshir and the others to the Sky Universe starfield. Little White's idea was simple. It just wanted to find Balun and the others and ask them to give an explanation and rescue the hostages. Little White and Chi Shirshir went to the Sky Universe starfield. Because the direction was different, Lord Tianyun and the others arrived at the Tianyua city on the 6th day and did not encounter Little White. When Lord Tianyun learned that Little White had gone to the Sky Universe starfield, he went after them without any hesitation. Bei Xian asked Balun to arrange some spies to monitor the situation so that he knew everything. When he learned that Little White had gone to the Sky Universe starfield, Bei Xian was relieved. The most crucial step was completed. Now, it was up to the King of the East to stop Little White halfway. Of course, the premise was that the King of the East had left the immortal region and followed Little White all the way here. Even if the old heaven-swallowing beast doesn't come, as long as I take Lu Xiaobai down, he will definitely come. Bei Xian made up his mind. As long as Little White arrived here, he would take it down and lure the King of the East over. By then, he could use Kuan Mo and the King of the West outside the southern region to join forces and destroy the King of the East. The two realm kings didn't reply. If they didn't reply, then that was the best news. If the two realm lords didn't agree, they would definitely reject it. If they didn't reply, it would be a tacit agreement. They didn't want to leave any evidence and wouldn't reveal themselves openly. In other words, they would hide in the dark. If Kuan Mo and Balun could stop the King of the East and suppress him, they would definitely join forces to eliminate the King of the East to avenge their humiliation. If Kuan Mo didn't make a move or couldn't suppress the King of the East, they would definitely hide in the dark and not come out. Bei Xian was very confident about this. Kuan Mo would definitely make a move, and he and Kuan Mo would definitely be able to suppress the King of the East. Kuan Mo could block the heaven-swallowing divine skill and wasn't afraid of the King of the East. If Kuan Mo could block the heaven-swallowing divine skill, there wouldn't be any big problems. With his and Kuan Mo's strength, they could easily suppress the King of the East. He really came. More than 2 months later, Bei Xian sensed a slight fluctuation in the nearby space. He revealed a faint smile. The King of the South had come and secretly released a signal of his arrival. Now, everything was ready and waiting for Little White to find him. P.S. The update will resume the day after tomorrow. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 37:17. Lu Xiaobai was here, swaggering over. His battleship didn't even go invisible and didn't turn on the shield to block out psychic power. They also wanted to tell Bei Lun that they were here. If he didn't want things to get out of hand, he should release the hostages. In Lu Xiaobai's mind, Bei Xian was a coward. When Lu Xiaobai went to the northern region and killed Bio, the king of the northern region didn't even dare to fart. Lu Xiaobai knew that the king of the northern region was the weakest among the 9 region kings. Since Lu Xiaobai and Qi Shifu were here, how could Bei Lun not release the hostages? If things got out of hand and his father went to the northern region, who could stop him? Lu Xiaobai was fast and could reach the Ice River Valley in 2 months at most. Lord Yun and the others chased after him. Unfortunately, their battleships were of the same level and speed. How could they catch up? If the king of the eastern region flew at full speed, he could catch up. But nobody knew if the king of the eastern region would catch up. A few days later, Bei Xian sensed another, faintly discernible presence. The king of the western region was here as well. Like the king of the southern region, he didn't show himself and only hid in the dark. He would only show up when the war started. He wouldn't show himself unless he had the upper hand. From the perspective of the 2 region kings, they were not wrong. They wanted to avenge the humiliation, but the old heaven-swallowing beast was too powerful and dying. They might be dragged to death by the old heaven-swallowing beast. It wasn't worth it. Without absolute confidence, they wouldn't do anything. Bei Xian walked out of the city and went back to the ice harem. Qin Wentian followed the safe passageway to the front of the statue. Kuan Mo was still sitting cross-legged here. Beneath his feet, streaks of red light slithered about like tiny snakes. Clearly, he was probing the divine inscriptions in the surroundings, trying to find a way to break through them. "You are here." Kuan Mo didn't open his eyes. He knew that Bei Xian wouldn't come here for nothing. Something must have happened since Bei Xian came here directly. Bei Xian bowed and said, "Patriarch Kuan, I have something to report to you." Kuan Mo opened his eyes but said nothing. Bei Xian said, "The king of the eastern region's son is Lu Li's sworn brother. He heard that Lu Li was trapped here and sneaked over. I think he will be here for 2 months at most. Old Devil Yin for the east is chasing after us with 10 paragons. He'll be here in 2 months." Old Demon Kuan was expressionless. He pondered for a moment before saying, "Don't tell me you can't even suppress 11 paragons? That's no problem at all." Bei Xian's attitude was very humble as he said with a smile, "I've already secretly mobilized some great perfection deities over. These 11 great perfection deities will naturally be able to suppress them. However, the king of the eastern region dotes on his son very much, and I suspect that the old heaven-devouring beast might secretly follow him here. At that time, there might be conflict." Kuan Mo's face darkened, and his gaze suddenly became sharp. He stared at Bei Xian coldly. The latter's hair stood on end. He didn't dare to look at Kuan Mo in the eye and only bowed deeply. "Oof." Kuan Mo snorted and said, "Old heaven-swallowing beast, you probably lured it here on purpose, right? You want to borrow this old man's saber to kill the old heaven-devouring beast? Although this old madman is crazy, he is not stupid. It is not easy to fool him." Bei Xian sighed inwardly and bowed again. "Elder Kuan, everyone knows that the king of the eastern region's son and Lu Li are sworn brothers. You can go and investigate this. He has been in seclusion all this time, and the old heaven-devouring beast is watching him closely. Even if I wanted to lure the young heaven-devouring beast here, there is nothing I can do. I can make a chief god blood oath that Lu Xiaobai's departure from the celestial realm is definitely not my doing." Bei Xian secretly changed his mind. It was true that Xiaobai's departure from the celestial realm was not his doing, but he had lured it here on purpose. If Lu Xiaobai came, the king of the eastern region might come. Even if he didn't, he would capture Lu Xiaobai and lure him here. However, he didn't mention this. Kuan Mo still had some doubts. After a moment of silence, he said, "You want this old man to make a move? I won't hide it from you, Elder Kuan." Bei Xian said with some shame, "I can't withstand the heavens-swallowing divine skill. If you don't make a move, I will die once the old heaven-devouring beast makes a move. You know the old heaven-devouring beast's temper. As long as he doesn't come, he will definitely make a move. In the origin realm, he is very powerful. I guess he wants to kill me to fulfill his supreme prestige." Kuan Mo hesitated for a moment and said, "I can only suppress him, but I can't kill him." "As long as you can suppress him." Bei Xian revealed a look of joy and said, "After knowing that Lu Xiaobai left the celestial realm, I was afraid that something would happen. I have already contacted the king of the southern region and the king of the western region. If the old heaven-devouring beast dares to make trouble for us, we will join forces and kill him." "Ha!" Kuan Mo looked at Bei Xian meaningfully and said, "The previous agreement is invalid. I want you to make a chief god blood oath again. As long as you are alive, you must protect the Kuan race from destruction." This, Bei Xian was a little conflicted. He wasn't the most powerful person in the celestial realm. It was good enough that he could protect the northern region. Now, he had to protect the Kuan realm. Did Kuan Mo think he was a chief god, protecting 2 realms? This made him feel very pressured. Over-god blood oaths could not be made recklessly. Over-gods were real existences. Once a blood oath was made, it was possible for over-gods to sense it. At that time, if he did not abide by the oath, he might be killed by a single thought from over-god. Previously, He said he would have 3 chances to attack. He would attack with all his strength 3 times. After completing the agreement, he could ignore the life and death of the Kuan race. Now, he had to protect the Kuan race. Wasn't the price too high? Huh. Seeing that Bei Xian didn't speak, Kuan Mo sneered and said, "If you are not willing, then the previous agreement is invalid. I will leave now. You can settle the rest yourself." With that, Kuan Mo stood up and was about to leave. Bei Xian panicked. If Kuan Mo didn't care about this, the consequences would be dire. If the king of the East knew that Kuan Mo had gone back, he would definitely chase after him. No matter where he ran, he would die. Elder Kuan, wait. Bei Xian gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, I promise you. As long as I am alive, I will protect the Kuan race from destruction. Make the chief god blood oath." Kuan Mo smiled. He knew that Bei Xian had to agree. They weren't fools. The king of the East must be furious, right? If he left, Bei Xian would definitely die. Hence, Bei Xian could only accept whatever conditions he offered. To him, suppressing the king of the East was nothing. He didn't have much lifespan left. It didn't matter if he died here. He used his short lifespan to exchange for a chief god blood oath from the king of the North. The Kuan race wasn't weak either. As long as they joined forces with the king of the North, it wouldn't be a problem even if he died. His enemy was fighting against 2 realms at the same time. No one had the confidence to win. Of course, he was very clear about one thing. Once this agreement was reached, this battle was unavoidable. Bei Xian would do everything he could to lure the king of the East over. He had to think of a way to kill the king of the East. Otherwise, Bei Xian would be in danger. Once Bei Xian died, all his efforts would be in vain. There were so many realm kings. After choosing, only the king of the North was suitable. This was because the king of the North was very young. In the future, his battle strength would increase by a lot. As long as the king of the North didn't die, he could live for hundreds of thousands of years. In hundreds of thousands of years, the Kuan race could give birth to a super expert. At that time, his race would be strong. All right. After the king of the northern region made the blood oath, he sat down cross-legged again and waved his hand, saying, "You can go out first. When the old heaven-devouring beast is about to arrive, just come in and call me. This old man will help you send this dying heaven-devouring beast on his way." P.S. Normal updates will resume tomorrow. Remember the mobile version. Chapter 37:18. Luli had no idea what was going on outside. He had an almighty artifact, but he could not move his body or take it out. Naturally, he could not see what was going on outside. At the moment, he could not care less. He had been studying the law of ice and had no time to think about other things. More than half of his body was damaged. There was nothing he could do, even if he was concerned about what was going on outside. There was nothing he could do. He might die here. What was the point of thinking so much? He was making rapid progress in his study of the law of ice and snow. He had only been studying for 2 months, but he felt he was close to the ultimate achievement. What was the point of learning the law of ice and snow? Louis did not know. He had to take things one step at a time and study the law of ice and snow first. Time flew by. Soon, a month had passed. Louis had finally mastered the law of ice and snow. He was overjoyed. Finally, he understood the profound meaning. Frost's profound meaning. This profound meaning had a lot to do with the world of ice. It was so cold here that people could not stand it and would be at a loss of what to do. When the profound meaning of frost was released, the temperature around would drop to a horrifying level. It would also affect a warrior's speed. If the warrior was enveloped in the profound meaning of frost for a long time, the warrior would be frozen to death. I can save my body now. The moment Luli mastered the profound meaning of frost, he knew that his body would be fine. Many parts of his body were damaged, but as long as he could stand the cold, he could recover gradually. As long as he could move, his wounds would heal quickly. He would be fine in a couple of days with the help of the elixir. He didn't release the profound meaning of frost. The moment he began to study, he could not feel any coldness. His soul, which had been suffering from the cold all the time, was no longer cold. He had learned the profound meaning of frost. How could the coldness here affect him? He could not feel any coldness in his soul, let alone his body. Luli used psychic power to check. His body was recovering. His body was strong. It could recover on its own when it was not under constant harm. That being said, his injuries were serious this time. Most parts of his body were frozen and his source of life was destroyed. To recover quickly was difficult. He had to do it bit by bit. Luli estimated that in a month at most, he would be able to move again. By then, he could consume the pellets and recover in 3 to 5 days. Luli studied for another 2 days. Even though he had completely mastered the profound meaning of frost, he felt the profound meaning was of little value. After this profound meaning was released, snow and ice would fall from the sky, and the surrounding temperature would drop drastically. If it was an ordinary martial artist, they would probably be frozen to death in an instant, but a powerful martial artist could barely resist it. As long as they could withstand it, the powerful martial artist would quickly leave the area covered in ice and snow. It was already heaven-defying that his profound meaning of extreme cold could cover an area of 1,000,000 miles, right? If he was a paragon, he would be able to escape in a few breaths. For the time for a few breaths, Luli believed that even the weakest of the perfect warriors wouldn't be affected. As long as they could leave the area covered in ice and snow, the profound meaning would be of no use. The profound meaning left behind by a main god is actually useless. Luli was confused. Clearly, this space was built by the Ice Empress. The laws of heaven and earth here were clear. Luli could understand this law easily. What did this mean? This meant that there was a high chance that the Ice Empress had purposely left this behind. The Tao runes left behind by a Lord God for future generations to comprehend was actually a useless law? How could Luli not be surprised? Luli was very disappointed that he had lost his status as a sovereign. Luli had thought that the fundamental laws would be very powerful, so powerful that it could suppress those at the consummate level. Only now did he realize that he had thought too much. The laws and profound mysteries left behind by a sovereign are actually so weak. This shouldn't be the case. Could it be that I didn't find the right direction? Could it be that I comprehended wrongly? Or does this place contain other powerful, true meanings? Luli was deep in thought. After a moment, he remembered something. The cold air in the Ice Queen Palace of the Ice River came from this world. What did it mean? This meant that it contained the origin of ice and snow. This meant that there was definitely more than just the profound meaning of extreme cold. There was definitely a very powerful, profound meaning of law. If I can comprehend this law of nature's profundity that releases cold air, perhaps, I'll be able to possess the battle prowess to suppress ordinary great perfection deities. Not even Bei Xian could stand the cold air here. Jin Yin and the others were sealed and frozen easily. If Lu Li could comprehend the origin of ice and snow law here, he would be able to defeat ordinary great perfection deities. Of course, he cannot do that to Kuan Mo. The cold air here didn't even affect Kuan Mo. How could he do that? Is there such a possibility? Lu Li thought of another possibility. In order to enter this world, he had to gain the initial approval of the Ice Queen. For example, he had to be able to withstand the cold air or use an almighty artifact. Only with the initial approval could he enter this world of ice and snow. This was the second test of entering this world of ice and snow. If he could not comprehend the profound meaning of extreme cold, then he would die. Only by understanding the profound meaning of extreme cold could he pass the second test and continue to study the origin of ice and snow. Origin of ice and snow law. The more Lu Li thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. He felt that the cold air here didn't come from the outside by chance. It must have been set up by the Ice Queen. That was to say, the Ice Queen might have let the cold air out on purpose to expose this place and lead others in. To lead warriors that could withstand the cold air or powerful warriors that cultivated the ice and snow law to inherit her legacy. Otherwise, how could the cold air in this world of ice and snow leak out with the Ice Queen's means? If that is the case, Lu Li was excited. If it was as he thought, then he would have the chance to learn the fundamental meaning of the ice and snow law. Once he succeeded, his combat abilities would soar, and he would be able to defeat a group of warriors at the absolute completion realm. He was greatly affected by what happened this time. He had thought that once he became the most powerful warrior below the absolute completion realm, he would have nothing to worry about. After Jin Yin and the others showed up, he realized that he wasn't that powerful. He might be able to run away, but the Liu family and the Liu alliance couldn't. They could all die at any time. Absolute completion was absolute completion. Liu Li had the ability to challenge them, but that didn't mean he could defeat them. Also, his real enemy this time was not Jin Yin and the others, but Bei Xian, the king of the northern region. If he didn't improve his combat abilities, then he would forever be like a mouse hiding in the gutter. Now that the king of the eastern region was still alive, Bei Xian dared to mess around. What if the king of the eastern region was dead? By then, there might be dozens of absolute completion realm warriors chasing after him and Little White. Even if the fact that he had an over-god weapon was exposed, it might attract other realm kings to come after him. After what happened this time, he once again had a strong desire for strength. His fighting spirit was ignited. Learn. Liu Li became excited. He had to find a way to learn what the Ice Queen had left in this world of ice and snow. If he didn't improve his combat abilities, he would never be able to get out. Even if he did, he would be hunted down by Bei Xian. To Liu Li, a long time had passed. The king of the eastern region must have received the news. If the king of the eastern region wanted to save him, he would have been here a long time ago. Therefore, he could only rely on himself now. Remember the mobile website. Chapter 37:19. Family Patriarch Liu Xiaobai has arrived at the Empyrean region. He will be here in half a month. On a mountain outside the Ice River Valley, Bei Yang reported, Chief Patriarch and the others are ahead of us. They will take the teleportation formation and will be here in a couple of days. Sitting on the peak, Bei Luan opened his eyes. He nodded and asked, Where are Yun and the others? They are behind us as well. Bei Yang said with certainty, They should be 8 days away from Liu Xiaobai and Qi Shishir. Liu Xiaobai and Qi Shishir have specter ships as well. Yun and the others cannot catch up with them. That's good. Bei Luan waved his hand and said, Keep an eye on Liu Xiaobai. Tell the 3 at the Absolute Realm to follow him. Don't get too close and don't get noticed. Bei Yang thought about it and said, Family Patriarch, how about we take it down now? If we can take Liu Xiaobai down, the old heaven-swallowing beast will have to show up. If he doesn't, he will have to come. Do not alert him. Bei Luan waved his hand and said, If the old heaven-swallowing beast is here, all the at the Absolute Realm will die if we take action now. If the old heaven-swallowing beast is not here, how can Kun and Mo take action? Also, those 2 aren't people that I can mobilize, so it's better for us to stay here and wait. Understood. Bei Yang left to make the arrangements. When Liu Xiaobai and the others arrived at the Empyrean region, they thought flying was too slow. They went to a large universe and teleported all the way here. He had revealed his identity in public. Who would dare to disrespect him? They couldn't wait to curry favor, not to mention offending Liu Xiaobai. A few days later, Bei Luan and the others came. Bei Luan brought Jin Yin and the others, as well as Emperor Li and the others, to pay a visit to Bei Xian. Bei Xian made an exception to receive Emperor Li and Emperor Yu, and gave them some words of encouragement. Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were so excited that they kowtowed to Bei Xian. Let the warriors out and lock them in the Ice Valley. Bei Xian gave the order, and Bei Luan carried it out. They flew into the Ice Valley and let out the warriors of the Grim Reaper. There was no more cold air coming out of the Ice River Valley. After Liu Li went into the statue, the cold air stopped. That being said, the temperature in the Ice River Valley was still low. Many warriors were not powerful, and they were shivering in the cold. The Ice River Valley did not activate the divine script, so they could easily fly out. However, no cultivator dared to flee. Not a single one of them dared to move. There were a few great perfection deities in the valley, so they couldn't escape even if they wanted to. They could only look around anxiously, not knowing where they were or what their fates would be. "Everyone, enter the cave," Jin Yin shouted with a murderous aura. "Those who don't listen will be killed without mercy." Jin Yin was a homicidal maniac. Those martial artists obediently chose a cave to enter. There were many caves here for the slaves to live in, and they could accommodate 10 million warriors. The remaining warriors were piled up in the small city, and those who couldn't fit would sit cross-legged in the Ice River Valley. Bei Luan told Gang Yu to build some divine script formations. It would be better to build several formations in case the warriors would take the chance to escape. It would be troublesome to chase them down. Gang Yu set up 2 runes. One covered the entire ice river, and the other blocked the entrance of the cave to prevent warriors from going in and to prevent Lu Li from sneaking out quietly. With that done, a group of powerful warriors guarded around the valley. All of them went into hiding. Only Emperor Li and Emperor Yu stayed above the valley with a group of patriarchs of the Grim Reaper and Great Patriarchs. Emperor Li and the others had no other choice. They had to follow the Bei family to the bitter end. Soon, 10 days passed. Lu Xiaobai and the others were teleported over. They were only half a day away. The Great Perfection Realm warriors here were nervous. Even Bei Xian was nervous. Bei Xian went into hiding. He didn't dare to show up in public. He was afraid that the king of the eastern region would sneak up on him. Kuan Mo was in the Ice Queen Palace. He couldn't be saved even if he wanted to. Bei Luan and Bei Yang went into hiding. Only Jin Yin showed up. It was as if he was the mastermind. Jin Yin threw caution to the wind. There was no place for him at the eastern region anyway. He had to follow Bei Xian. They were bound together for good or bad. Half a day later, Lu Xiaobai and Qi Shishir arrived at the ancient city of Rhinos. They asked for directions and took out the battleship. They flew toward the Ice River Valley. The battleship was fast. In just over a day, they arrived at the Ice River Valley. As they approached the Ice River Valley, Little White and Qi Shishir checked with psychic power. "They are here." Lu Xiaobai was relieved to see that there were many warriors in the Ice River Valley, as well as Emperor Li and Empress Yu. As long as the hostages were alive, nothing else mattered. He frowned after a quick look. He recognized some from the Lu Alliance, but none of Lu Li's family members were here. Whoosh! The battleship flew on and soon arrived at the Ice River Valley. A man came out from the battleship. It was the Great Perfection Realm warrior who was guarding Qi Shishir. The warrior said, "Lady Lu, young Master Bai, there are many Great Perfection Realm warriors over there. Don't go." "Many Great Perfection Realm warriors?" Lu Xiaobai frowned. He was impulsive, but he was not stupid. There were so many Great Perfection Realm warriors here, and so many hostages had been captured. Not even a fool would believe that the enemies were not plotting something. Lu Xiaobai was not afraid of the pride of the sky, swallowing beasts. The king of the eastern region's invincible record gave Lu Xiaobai courage and confidence. He thought for a while and said, Sure, stay here. Thank you for coming with me. I will reward you handsomely after this." Qi Shishir glared at him and said, "Lu Xiaobai, what do you think I am? Now that I have come with you, I will be with you to the end no matter what. Are you looking down on me?" Qi Shishir's words had a deeper meaning that Lu Xiaobai did not understand. Still, he was touched. He cupped his fists again and said, Sure, thank you for your kindness. But this has nothing to do with you. You don't have to take the risk. If anything happens to you, I will not be able to answer to your parents." "Answer for what?" Qi Shishir snorted and said, "I will take responsibility for my own matters. If I die, you will die with me. Isn't that giving me an explanation? Aren't you the invincible sky, swallowing beast? You can't even protect a weak girl like me?" This, Lu Xiaobai smiled awkwardly. Qi Shishir wanted him to die for her. He scratched his head and did not want to care so much. He nodded and said, "All right, if you die, I will die with you." "Okay, but will your Great Perfection Realm warrior let you go?" Qi Shishir looked at the Great Perfection Realm warrior, who said expressionlessly, "Miss, you can go. But if there is danger, I will take you away by force. This is an order from a king. I cannot go against it." Let's go. Chi Sure waved her hand. Lu Xiaobai did not want to care so much. He shot out from the warship, and Chi Sure and the others followed closely behind. They arrived above the Ice River Valley. The hidden Great Perfection Realm warriors did not show themselves. Only Emperor Li and Emperor Yu were there. When Lu Xiaobai saw Emperor Li and Emperor Yu, killing intense surge from his body. Without saying anything, he took out a supreme divine weapon and slashed at Emperor Li's head. Remember the mobile website that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.